Hello, people from around the world. Welcome to Joe Talks, the one for the greatest movie ever. Our first ever live episode. That was supposed to be a cheer of celebration. It felt like one of those cartoons, where you fall off a cliff and just like, and then the little mushroom cloud. That's what I. Pew, pew, pew. No, that's a laser, Nicole. Pew, pew, pew.
Oh, sorry. Get them.
Yeah. It's all right. It's all it's all movies. It's all movies. It's all relative. It's all relative. But yeah, thank you. No matter where you're watching in the world, whatever time zone you're in, thank you for joining us. Please help us by sharing the video, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to all these lovely people on their social media as well. We have the wonderful Jamie from episode 11. We have the wonderful Nicole from Jamie from episode 10, Nicole from episode 11, and Connor from episode yet to be defined. And we will shortly be joined by Pat Byrne as well from episode 5. He's just running a bit late. He is coming to the end of watching Minari. So it'll be fresh in his mind. It'll be fresh in his mind when we go live. But wherever you're watching the world, like I said, thanks so much for joining us. If you're watching weekly, listening weekly as well, no matter where you are, we appreciate every listen, every view, everything. So we're here to discuss 4 of the Best Picture nominees for the 2021's Oscars, the Academy Awards, which will be followed by next week with the other 4. And we'll be going to all our insights, all our thoughts, and everything about it. But we're going to go first as a little reminder of episodes gone. It's like, what's that ghost? Ghost of Christmas Past? I'm currently the ghost of episodes past. Well, no, you'd be the ghost of episodes past, wouldn't you? Because you're here and you were there. Yeah. Would we both be ghosts? Or am I Ebenezer Scrooge?
Yeah, you can be Scrooge, Joe.
Yeah, okay. Right, I think I came off worse than this. I think I'd prefer to be a ghost, if I'm being honest. But, a rich white man comes up a lot, actually, in these films, so that'd be great. And also, please, as we're chatting, you can get into the comments, share your views, share your thoughts on the films, on whatever topic we are talking about currently, because we want as many opinions on these as possible. But, Jamie, your episode you were on, first episode so far, was 1987 to 1989. It was Platoon, it was Rain Man, and it was The Last Emperor, wasn't it?
Yeah, yes, you got it
right. The longest film ever made, even though right before we went live, I said 3 completely different films, but I got there eventually. But for your film, do you still stand by the choice of putting Rain Man as the greatest film from that bracket, or looking back on it, do you think differently?
No, I maintain my choice. There you go.
You maintain your straight to the point.
I don't have a lot of else. Rain Man still holds up.
Yeah, that's good to know. And we have one in from Usman. Thanks so much, Usman. I know nothing about films, but I love you, Joe. As long as those in the comments are coming in all night, I'll be happy. And we're going to cut to the latest and last member of our quartet, and it's about to come a 5. What's the next one up from a quartet? He's a musician, so he'll know the answer. All the way from Austin, the wonderful Minari-less Pat Byrne.
Hey.
Hi, Pat. Welcome to the party, Pat. Thanks so much for joining us.
It's a quartet now, Joe.
Yeah. It's a quintet. It's a quintet. And if you're a fan of the Marvel series, they drive a quinjet. So, films again. God. Yeah, look, I'm trying to get as many of these as possible. Nicole, we were just discussing the previous episodes we were on, and Nicole was on 1980 to 1982, which was Kramer versus Kramer, Ordinary People, and what was the last one?
How could you forget that gem? It was the bet. No, I'm still recovering from Chariots of Fire. Don't do it to yourself. Not even once.
Yeah. That was the most pain I've ever. No, sorry. It was top 3 of most painful experiences I've had watching a movie in this podcast series. I remember, the worst pain I've ever had watching a movie with someone was when I was like 15. I went on holidays to Cork or somewhere around there with my family, went to Trebalgan, all right? On the way back, we went in and we stayed with my dad's best friend, his family, and his granddad, your man's dad, so his granddad, the kid's granddad, so it's in his 80s, and his best mate came down, who was a fisherman. The two of them didn't speak, but they sat there, all right, and they all went out, so they were babysitting us, and we were watching whatever film was on TV. It was something with Kevin Bacon, and he was a criminal, and he was being put on death row and he had a mind of a child. But the lawyer brought in a prostitute that gave him a blowjob, and we were just here, okay, with these two as most country Irish men as you can possibly imagine. All right, I'm sitting there awkwardly as this is happening, and Kevin Bacon didn't even accept the blowjob. He told him to get away, and he wasn't comfortable. And it was up there with not only the worst experience I've had in my life, but definitely up there with the worst film experience I've had in my entire life as well. So we keep going. And get your comments in if you've had any worse film experiences than that. And please don't forget to like the video and share this around. Pat, you were in the bracket. What was it? 2003 to 2006.
Yeah.
It was Lord of the Rings, Return of the King, Chicago. What was the Crash?
$1 Million Baby and Crash, yeah.
Yes, and you chose $1 Million Baby. Looking back on it, do you still stand by that answer, or would you switch anything around?
No, I definitely stand by it for sure.
Yeah, you were 100% right on your list, especially putting Crash last. Has anyone else seen Crash here?
No. It's terrible though.
You've lived a full and well-meaning life then. Crash is the worst thing ever. I do remember what Pat said, and Pat had the best description of it. It was it should be shown to kids. No, if it didn't win the Oscar, people would like it. That's what he said. Yeah.
I stand by it. It's like a fine movie. I enjoyed watching it, but it didn't deserve to win the Oscar. It was against Brokeback Mountain. Like, it was against amazing movies, and it just didn't deserve it.
How can anything beat Brokeback Mountain? You know, like that's the biggest travesty since, Nazi Germany, and I'll stand by that till the bitter end.
Wow.
A couple of comments coming in now. Sorry, we got James Ridge. Joe, do you guys know how much you relentlessly bully me? Yes, James, they tune into every show I'm on with you and they cheer me on. They say, go after that four-eyed freak constantly. And then we have Neve. Thanks so much, Neve. Looking forward to this. And thank you very much for being in the comments. Appreciate it. Get your thoughts coming in, guys. We're going to Conor now, who is making his debut on the podcast. And everyone here has gotten the same question when their first time on the show. And guys, answer the question and react to Conor's choices in the comments as well. Conor, growing up when you were a child, when you were
Joe, no one else got this live judgment for.
But then, look, you earn it, okay? What, growing up, Conor, when you were so much younger than you were today, what was your favorite film as a child?
Has to be, I don't know if anyone's ever said it, it has to be Matilda. Absolutely loved it. I remember the first time I ever felt anxiety was when Matilda and Miss Honey sneaks in to the Trunchbull's house, and the Trunchbull is coming back up the driveway in her car, and they have to hide on her. I was fucking terrified. So that, and also I absolutely loved the 1989 Batman with Jack Nicholson. I remember,
You said? Brilliant.
I remember asking my dad why there was a man on screen dressing up and being really mean, and he explained to me what it was, and I was like, that sounds cool. And here we are now. So it has to be those two.
And so they both define two sides of your soul. Part of Conor is a dark, brooding superhero, and the other part is a little girl with superpowers.
And one of them was adapted into a musical. So
yeah, no, actually, there is a Batman musical. And it is terrible. It is terrible. If I need help falling asleep, I listen to a prison documentary or Matilda. Neve, what? How can you listen to a prison documentary? I don't understand that. I need a little bit more context than that, if you wouldn't mind. But yeah, there is a Batman musical, and I believe it's just called Batman. And it was never made into a full. I think you can get a couple of songs. I think it did a very limited run, off Broadway, only went regional, and it is so dull. There's a song called "I Work the Midnight Shift." Sorry. No. That's probably a Bruce Springsteen song. Actually, it's called "I Work the Graveyard Shift." Is the name of Batman's song in it, and it's "I work the graveyard shift," and it just says that over and over again. I think Meatloaf actually does a cover of it. Fred from Alfie United, thanks for joining us. What a crossover that would be. Bruce Bogtrotter as the Cape Crusader. That would be an interesting turn of events. He's the one who ate the cake, isn't he?
Yeah.
Oh, that cake looks so
anytime
delicious.
Anytime you say Bruce Bogtrotter, you have to say it like Bruce Bogtrotter. No other way will do. Thank you very much. Thank you.
But Conor, your dream role, I remember you telling me before, your dream role is to play Miss Trunchbull, isn't it?
Is Miss Trunchbull, because it's played by a man on the West End, but now they're making the movie adaptation of the musical and Emma Thompson's playing Miss Trunchbull, which, you know, I'm all for, like, a woman should play that role, but at the same time I'm devastated they didn't ask me, so it's all right, like, we live on.
Your time will come. I know, across the board, Nicole, if you could play anyone in the musical, I'm going to you next, as you are the musical connoisseur here as well, along with Conor. What it would be your dream role?
I would love to play Bobby in the female lead version of Company.
Yes.
Yeah.
I saw that.
Oh, did you?
Yeah.
I'm so jealous.
A part of me was fuming, all right? Because I booked the tickets, myself and my ex went, whenever that was on, 2017 or 2018, all right? And I booked the tickets, whatever it was a Saturday. I was like, grand. There was no like pre-thing for me. I was like, that will do perfectly. And then on the time that this was on, Ireland were playing New Zealand and they beat them for the first time ever at home. And I'm not really the biggest rugby fan in the world, but like, you know, something like that I'd like to watch over a musical I could have seen the day before, the day after. And I also remember meeting, what's her name? Who's your one that was the lead, the Paddy Lapone? I remember, my ex, she wanted to get a autograph, okay? And Paddy Lapone was going around, and they went, "Hey, okay, everyone, she's not going to talk to anyone. Just have your pens ready, have your thing ready, and she'll sign it, whatever." And everyone's like, "Okay, cool." And Leslie didn't have a pen or anything like that, so your one went around. And then I went, "Oh wait, there's one in the bag." So I went to grab it out of the bag and take it out. By the time I got it out, she had gone by, and I was like, "Oh, I'm so sorry." And she turned to me, a little small, lovely woman, like with hate and venom in her eyes, said, "You weren't quick enough." And my soul like left from my body. But she did meet your one. Who's your one that was in All About Jamie? And she's on RuPaul's Drag Race.
Michelle Visage.
Yes, we met her the same night, and that was kind of like a nice little silver medal. But yeah, so that's a great one, and I think you would make a fantastic Bobby. Pat, I'm going to go to you next because I know you have at least seen one musical. Is there anyone in your musical mind, did you say I could give that a go?
I'd like to say Kaneki because I feel like I have that coolness. No, I would be a horrific member of a musical cast. I just wouldn't be good at it, but. Yeah.
I think you'd make it fine, Kaneki. You know, until the point you said coolness, I was like, this guy's pretty cool. He's pretty radical. But then he kind of fell off. I think he could play Eugene. I think he got him in Greece.
Wow.
Yeah.
I probably would do better at that role, actually. But
yeah, I think
in Greece I would like to do.
Yeah, you'd love to do Grease in Greece. And guys, get your thoughts in as well. Neve, who would you like to play in a musical? I also saw a show in the West End when Paddy didn't leave her chair for ladies who lunch. It was iconic. Oh, fair play. Yeah, she is unbelievable. Bianco Del Rio. What's going on here? Who's that? Is that someone?
Michelle Visage thing.
Oh, okay. Well, thanks, Neve, for throwing that in. I appreciate it. And Conor Miley with support as always. Shut up, Joe. Jamie, I'm going to come to you now because I have no point of reference if you like musicals, see musicals.
I was in a musical. I did We Were Rocky at school. I played Brit. I did a terrible Cockney accent, which I'm not doing right now, just to say. It was, I used to sing and stuff. I just could never dance, so that always let me down on the musical thing. I used to be in the background of like musicals, and they just tell me to stand in the bar because I couldn't dance, so I just like do the polishing a glass type thing instead, and a bit of singing.
That's my dance move as well, so that works for me.
Yeah.
But who's that? Would you be a fan of musicals though?
Musicals. Yeah, I do enjoy a musical.
So who would be your guy? Who would you say that's me?
I'd love to play Danny Zuko. I'm not that cool, but it would be a cool role to play.
Okay, so we got Danny Zuko and we got Kaneki right here, ready to go. That'll be on next week's episode, all right? We'll do a full show with just Jamie and Pat trying to remember the lyrics with really bad backing tracks.
I'll dig the leather jacket out.
I have a leather jacket that I bought for $300 that was marked down from $800, but I've always been too afraid to wear because I wore it once and I got a kind of, what are you doing? And then I just nothing, and I took it off before I left the house, and now it's just gathering dust down there.
Yeah.
But I'll, eventually. I don't think Connor quite understood the question. I'll be Michelle Pfeiffer. Or maybe he's still on Batman. I'm not really sure where we're going from him now. But we are here. We are 15 minutes in, and we are here to discuss 4 films that are nominated for Best Picture. We're here to chat Minari. We're here to chat Promising Young Woman. We're here to chat Sound of Metal, and we're here to chat Mank. And we're not doing it in that order. I just couldn't remember the films that we were going to discuss. Sorry, he's clarified that. Grease 2. That's a very popular, actually, sequel.
I've never seen it, actually. I've never seen it.
My mate Adam and Jody are obsessed with Grease 2, to the point where I thought it was ironic until I realized no, they're actually pretending that they actually do love it. I don't know if they were doing it ironic first and then actually grew to love it, but like they actually do obsess about it now. But like I said, we're here to discuss those 4 Best Picture nominees, and we'll be back the following week to discuss the remaining 4. But we're going to get stuck into Minari first, because considering 3 members of the people involved in the show tonight have either just finished watching it as of about 8 minutes before we went live, or have watched it in the previous 24 hours. So it's fresh on the mind. So Minari is nominated. I'm going to go to Jamie, to you first on this one. It is nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, and Best Original Score. The names that would come out of this immediately: Lee Isaac Chung, who's nominated for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, and Steven Yeun, who would be probably the most well-known of the cast, especially in the Western world. But I'm actually going to focus in on you, Jamie, while you give us your thoughts in general about the film. And what are those names prior to going into this? Did you know any of the cast and anyone behind us in any other medium before going into this?
I feel terrible because I've totally forgotten one of the main actors' names, but he was in The Walking Dead, wasn't he?
Yes, he was Glenn.
Yeah, so I've saw him. I know him from like season 2 of The Walking Dead, like whenever that came out 6 years ago or something.
Yeah.
But no, I didn't know a lot about Minari, to be fair. Brad Pitt executive produced it, which I saw at the end, which I was like,
really? That's interesting.
Yeah.
But what are your thoughts on the film after?
I mean, it's a good film. It was well made, but I'm not going to lie, I didn't particularly enjoy it. I was kind of like watching the clock for 2 hours, which is really bad to say as like a film graduate. No, it was well made. It was just like it was a very serious film, which is fine. You're allowed to have films like that. But it was good. My favorite thing about the film was actually the score. I thought the score was great, and I thought the kid was amazing, like the youngest kid in it. David was his name. He was brilliant. Really enjoyed his performance. His relationship with the grandma was really interesting as well. There's some really nice scenes there.
Yeah, absolutely. I completely agree with you on that. Nicole, for yourself, prior to watching this, going into the film, did you know any of the cast or anyone behind the scenes that drew you to it? And what are your thoughts on it after checking out?
I thought it was a good movie. I feel like it follows a very particular kind of like Oscar-based kind of structure. It's it's about a family struggling to like get the American dream, that kind of stuff. But there's like little details in it that made it kind of a little bit more special than just your typical run-of-the-mill kind of Oscar film. And I think standout in the film was definitely Sunya, the grandma. She was brilliant. But yeah, prior to this film, I don't know why I thought it, but I thought that Steven Yeun had written and directed it, and that was why he left The Walking Dead, even though he left The Walking Dead about 5 years ago. I was like, oh, that's his movie. That's his passion project. No, it's Lee Isaac Chung's passion project. Steven Yeun is just in it. I thought it was good. I don't think it was like, my favorite film ever by any stretch of the imagination. But I think there was some moments in it that were quite heart-wrenching, particularly the relationship between David and the grandma.
Yes, I would be completely on the same boat with you at that. Pat, going to you now. Same question across the board. Did you know any one of the behind the scenes, any of the cast or anything? And what are your thoughts on the film after recently just finishing watching it?
I literally just finished. I haven't had any time to process it or anything, but I knew Will Patton and I thought he was amazing in the movie. I loved his character. For me, like him and the grandmother-grandson relationship were my favorite things. I really enjoyed it. It's not my favorite movie I've seen this year either, but I thought it was beautiful. And, I had myself asking myself a lot of questions about your priorities. And I thought it was a beautiful ending as well. I liked where it ended up.
Yeah.
But
absolutely.
no, not my favorite movie I've seen all year.
Oh, very interesting. Very interesting. Conor, for yourself, same questions across the board.
Yeah, I only knew Stephen Yeun going into it because I watched the first couple of seasons of The Walking Dead. I didn't dislike this movie at all. I really enjoyed it, but it's one of those movies that is about so much, but is really about nothing either. Like, it's about a new immigrant family coming to America, trying to build a life, like trying to figure out who they are, all that shit. But like, nothing really happens. Like, it's just about them kind of getting set up and like the complications that can come with that. I thought the child actor who played David was absolutely amazing. I thought that the actress that played the grandmother was incredible. She won a BAFTA last night. And Stephen Yeun and the lady who plays the mother, they were great too. Like, it was a really strong cast. It just wouldn't necessarily be one that I'd go back and watch again.
Oh, that's very interesting. Great comment here by Niamh Murphy, wonderful actress. Youngs. I'm so bad with these names. So apologies. If anyone's ever listened to an episode I've done before, I can't even pronounce like Western names. So like, this is difficult for me. But BAFTA acceptance speech was gas, thanking the snobby British people. Fantastic. And thanks so much for commenting, even for tuning in. Yeah, I'm kind of a little bit surprised by, I won't, like, obviously it's not a negative reaction from you guys, but like the not so much love for it, because this was actually the first film I'd seen from the best picture nominees. I thought Ma Rainey's Black Bottom was nominated. I watched that one first. It turns out it wasn't. So it's very, yeah. But no, I had never heard about this film. I knew Stephen Yeun, and when I watched The Walking Dead, he was one of my favorite characters in it. And so when he got nominated, I was looking forward to actually seeing it, because he seemingly came out of nowhere. Because I'd seen him again in what that film called? Sorry for Bothering You, with what's his name, with Lakeith Stanfield, who's nominated for Judas and the Black Messiah, and he showed up in that, and I was like, oh, he's actually kind of making waves, but I didn't recognize him, because do you know when you see your barman, but like in real life, and you're like, who are you? That's what I was kind of like there, because you're not used to seeing him without zombies around him. I didn't know who he was, and then it hit me, and I was like, oh, this is great. And then when he got nominated, I was delighted, because I always really liked him as an actor. And then watching this, I found it really, really, like, really heart-wrenching, and like, I think especially for artists watching this, because even though it doesn't deal with art, it deals with an obsessive compulsion almost to succeed at something that really, you want to say, has potential to work. We'll say, like, when's the breaking point? Like, is the breaking point when your family turns against you, or is the breaking point when you finally give up? When do you get to the point where you're like, this isn't going to work? But then you have that thing inside you saying, this will work, I believe in myself. And what are you willing to give up for that? Like, for any of you, did you feel that from this? Or what was your strongest thing you pulled from it? Jamie, I'll go to you first.
Yeah, that's a really good analogy, actually, Joe. I like that little analogy. No, it like, I think Nicole touched on it. Like, the relationship was really quite like heavy between the two main characters. Like, and it was realistic, and it was sad. And like that scene when they stand outside, they just sold the vegetables to the guy, and they have that argument towards the end, and it's like this, it's like 5 or 10 second silent moment between them. I thought that was brilliant. Like, just this little moment. And I feel like we can all relate to that. We don't like what we'd all probably had like that project or something where we're just like, I need to do this for myself, and then someone else just doesn't really get it.
That's a huge problem, because especially, like, who knows if it would be different if it was just the two of them, because I don't want to say that his wife isn't being supportive, because that's like, obviously they're 2 kids in, he's done a lot as well, like he's obviously had to work a job that he hates, blah, blah, all this sort of stuff, but like their kid is unwell, so like there's a lot of baggage there for her to be like, look, we can't mess around, and she doesn't like call him out really when they have no water. Like, she's kind of there, and the marriage is on a knife edge for the entire thing. But Nicole, for you on this, why are you kind of surprised by the fanfare it's getting, by the amount of nominations, or do you feel that maybe it's just Best Picture that it's the only one that it's lacking in, we'll say?
No, I don't think I'm not surprised of the fanfare that it's getting. I think there was only a certain amount of movies that came out this year as well. We do have to keep that in mind too. And I think I know I don't mean to come across bitchy or anything like that, but I feel like this might be a movie, because it's quite a small, contained film, that in a normal year with big blockbusters would have been up the side, possibly, you know. But I think really this film is about the battle between keeping your interpersonal relationships, keeping a family together, the heart of, you know, your life, and, you know, while trying to keep yourself together under the stress of chasing that American dream, which I think is a very American story that a lot of Americans can probably relate to. And I think this is really like, it's an immigrant story, and I feel like that can be really relatable for other people, but it's just not something that I obviously have a huge connection to. But I do like that you tie that in with that kind of like artist dream and how we can kind of relate to it that way. I hadn't actually thought of that, you know? So something that was good.
Yeah, because I'm fierce clever. Pat, coming to you, because you mentioned like a standout, which I thought was absolutely phenomenal. I didn't know I don't think I knew Will Paxton as an actor prior to seeing this film. Like obviously his brother Bill Paxton, who unfortunately passed away, I think in 2016, tremendous actor. But I don't think I've seen his brother in anything. But he was absolutely phenomenal in this, and he kind of had his own side story that was going on, because he was the only one. Like watching this, the family seemed to get on well with everyone. Do you know what I mean? But like no one went up to them to lend a hand, bar him. He was the only one there looking to help him out, but he's also an outsider in the town. But of his performance, what was it that really drew you to it?
Well, I loved his character and I loved his performance, but I wish we learned more about his history and what was going on. Like all of those scenes where he's carrying the cross, we just kind of landed at him as this religious nut with this great heart. But I'd like to have known more about his backstory, but his performance is what really stood out to me. And like you said, I really found myself relating to the story. Like as an artist, as someone who's not willing to compromise, I really found myself on the husband's side all the time. And I that's the most interesting part of the movie, actually, to me, that tug of war between the two of them, where she wants the instant security and he's thinking long term. He's like, this will get us the security in a much more preferable way. But then at the end, when the thing burns down, I don't know, were we supposed to spoil things?
Spoil the shit out of it.
The fact that she ran in with him and helped try and save the vegetables, and you know, at the end of the day, their love kind of triumphed over everything, despite what they both wanted. And I did love the movie. Maybe my first reaction was too lukewarm. I thought it was amazing. I just finished watching it, but I related to that story.
Yeah, my favorite thing actually was because obviously it's a huge thing going on about it, because the son is unwell. He has the hole in his heart. He has the heart murmur, and then when it comes to and it looks like the marriage and life end, they want to leave that place. But then when the doctor's office, it's like, hey, you do what you need to do. Whatever you're doing, stick at it. And then the wife kind of looks at him with this kind of fuck, because they have to stay there. But it's an interesting one. But Conor, I'm going to come to you with kind of an odd question. It could be, but like, do you think she still loves him, or is she just there because they need that family structure for the kids?
I think she still loves him. I think yeah, it was really interesting what Pat was saying. Like, that was probably my favorite part of the movie as well. That like give and take scenario that like between the two of them as parents. Like I suppose a lot of people can kind of relate to that in terms of like being in a relationship, or even just with your friends. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, you know, if I do this, can you do this? And like, what's the compromise there? I think like I really like, I don't think anyone on the chat like disliked this film. Like, I like the film, like, but like it's a very it's produced by A24, isn't it?
Yes.
Yeah, it's the most like A24 film ever. Like it immediately gives me do you know, like Lady Bird vibes with Saoirse Ronan and Laurie Metcalf. Like that's a movie about the relationship between a mother and a daughter, but like nothing happens. She's in her last year of high school and she's going off to college, and like that's kind of just it. It's kind of just conversations and relationship problems, but like there's no like real kind of plot. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it's not a criticism. It's just I think that's the way the movie is, and I think a lot of people love those kind of films where they're about like big themes, like emigration, settling in, but like there's no like real plot. It's like if someone asked me to describe this, I'm like, it's about a Korean family that come to the States. They're setting up. He wants to become a farmer. She's kind of unsure what to do, and it's just how they got on. And I feel like a lot of people just expect that from the Oscars. They're like, oh, this big family drama, but like there's not a lot that actually happens in it, if you know what I mean, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's absolutely fair. Mark, with an interesting second name. That ending was cool since it was like kind of an exorcism. It kind of was, to be fair. But we'll a couple of final questions before we get into this. Who is your standout performer? We'll go with that one first. Jamie, I'll come to you. Would obviously have the nominations of Stephen Yeun and how do you say her name? Yeon Young. I'm gonna get lambasted for that, but I'm doing my best here, guys. Were the nominations? Would they be your standout performers? One of them? Who would it be and why?
Yeah, I mean the grandma was amazing. Like absolutely brilliant performance. So yeah, did someone say she won a BAFTA? I think
yes.
She won the BAFTA. I haven't caught up on the BAFTA yet. I didn't check. I don't know. I think because we're just in such a weird year when it's not like, you know, how it's all online. I've just not been as interested to watch that stuff this year for whatever reason. So I didn't watch the BAFTAs. Usually I would sit and watch them. So feel guilty for that. But anyway, this is an Oscars podcast. So I don't know I'm talking about BAFTAs.
Boo BAFTAs. Boo Rivals.
But yeah, the grandma's performance was absolutely brilliant. Did David get nominated for anything? I don't think he did.
No.
See, he was my standout performance. I thought it was brilliant.
I thought he was absolutely excellent as well. And definitely as a partnership, absolutely. I think whoever he worked against, whether it was his dad or whether it was the grandmother, whether it was his sister or anyone else, he was absolutely exceptional. But I think the problem is, I've mentioned this a couple of times on the podcast, when you have kids in it, like this is what, what's his name? Who directed Trainspotting? Danny Boyle. He said the problem is when you, Danny Boyle, yeah. Danny Boyle, Scottish Danny Boyle. When you have kids, it's hard to know if they're acting or if they're just playing, you know, because you have to try and make them as happy and as comfortable as possible so you can get the best out of them. If you look at The Shining, for example, with the kid who played Danny Torrance and that, he thought the film was a comedy, but the way Stanley Kubrick took care of him in it. So that's why it's harder to get kids nominations, unlike Kramer versus Kramer, where the kid did in that, which Nicole, and that was a great child's performance. But Nicole, coming to you, who is your standout performance, and why do you pick that?
Standout performance, it's no surprise, it's Yoon Sunja, the character of the grandma. Definitely my standout. But I honestly, if Alan Kim was nominated for the character of David, I would pick him. He's just adorable. And from what I know about the film, Lee Isaac Chung, the film is it's kind of semi-autobiographical, yes. So I feel like that might have helped nurture the character of David. It's kind of Lee, it's him. But yeah, that would be the grandma, definitely I would pick.
Yeah, 100%. Pat, over to you now.
Yeah, same thing. I mean, David is kind of the heart of the movie, and I'd love to say him, but like you said, you don't know if the kids are just playing or if you don't know how much skill is involved, I suppose, but he was my favorite performance. But yeah, the grandmother, I think, deserves it the most.
Perfect. And Connor, coming to you, same question.
Yeah, the granny and David were amazing. Like the actress who plays the grandmother was definitely my favorite. But I suppose just to spice it up a bit, I did think Stephen Yeun and the actress who plays the mother were incredible. There was some scenes between them that were so great, especially, sorry, I'm not even going to try to pronounce the mother's name. I thought she was brilliantly subtle in a lot of it. And I think it was a really strong ensemble ensemble cast, if I'm honest.
Yeah.
I thought I was very impressed by them all.
Yeah, that's fair enough. And we're going to go around now for standout scene, everybody, in this film. So, Jamie, you first. Again, what are you going for? I think I know what Connor's going for.
There's two scenes. There's the one I mentioned.
You always have two. You always. I love it. I love it. I love it. You can have five if you want, but every single time.
Clearly got some commitment issues or something. No, the scene that I mentioned earlier when the couple are standing outside, and like they have that argument. I really like that scene. But also, there's a really nice scene where the mum, the grandma, and David. It's like the grandma and the mum are giving each other presents and stuff, and then David comes through and sits with them. I just really liked that scene. I thought it was like it was so realistic. It just felt so real, and like the way that the grandma was trying to interact with David for the first time, I just thought it was a beautiful scene. So I really liked that one.
Yeah, that's great. Nicole, over to you now.
I'm actually blanking on specific scenes, but
she didn't watch it, guys. She did not watch it.
No, that's the same time she opened the Chardonnay was when she started watching it.
I think there's a scene, now help me out, guys, where the grandma is saying to David, like, you are strong.
Yeah.
And I suppose just like the culmination of those little moments, and that was like the key to their relationship that I loved, that she was like helping him build up his confidence. So yeah, when she was encouraging him to run, even if he had a heart condition, that's my
yeah.
And she fixes his heart. She fixes his heart. Technically, you could argue.
Yeah, that probably is what happened. But in the same way, I wouldn't tell a child with a heart condition, "Hey, go for a jog there." But Pat, coming to you, who is your? What's the question? Oh yeah, standout scene. Yeah, I was going to say your standout performer. I was like, you already answered that. Where am I? Your standout scene.
My absolute favorite scene is when David is trying to fall asleep and his mother has told him to pray that he can go to heaven, and he just admits how scared he is of dying to his grandmother, and she pulls him into bed and nurtures him and starts singing the Minari song, and I started crying at that scene. I just thought it was really beautiful.
Yeah. And
despite all the kind of hate he was throwing at her, all she was giving back was love the whole way through the movie. I thought it was a beautiful thing.
She was such an interesting backstory, that mother, like grandmother, without us really knowing what happened. You know, she was born during like war-torn Japan. She can't read, she can't cook. She's not a real grandma, as he always says, but like there is a tremendous amount of love there that she wanted to give him. Absolutely fascinating. She's my favorite for the best supporting actress. But Connor, coming to you, what's your standout scene?
When David takes a piss.
Yes, I knew that was it.
Gives the thing to the granny. I was absolutely in stitches, and there's a really kind of cute. The development of that relationship is so cute to me. She's like lying in bed, really sick, and he's lying on the floor, and he's like, "Oh, you should never have come to America," or something like that. I just love the two of them together, but that has to be a standout scene for me.
Yes, I love when he drink the piss. Sorry, she drink the piss, but I also love the punishment. Like because you can tell it tells a lot about Stephen Yeun's character as well, because when he has to go out and go cut me a switch, and he brings in the tiny little twig after breaking the first one, but like he doesn't lose his mind and just start beating him. He just kind of goes, go to bed, you know. But my favorite moment, what made me laugh so much, was because I was really worried it was going to go super racist, but luckily it didn't. Was when the two kids were in the church and she's just like, "Tell me when I say something in your language." And just, and then she goes, "Oh yeah, that means sauce or something." I can't remember what she said. I love that scene. I love that moment. But before we move on, we have two more questions to do with this film before we move on. First of all, it was nominated for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Score. I think I know what you're going to go with, Jamie. But aside from Best Picture, what do you think it's most likely to win something in?
Probably. Well, yeah, I'm going to give it Best Score because I said that earlier.
Yeah.
I don't think it'll. This isn't my opinion, but I don't think it'll win anything else at the Oscars.
You think it will win best score, but that'll be it? Or
I don't even know. I don't think it'll win best score either. But I haven't seen all the films yet because we've still got to watch next week's one. So I don't know if it does have the best score. It's got the best score out of the 4 films for tonight, though. There you go.
Okay, that's
my take.
That's you. Nicole, for you?
I would agree. Best score. I think it really just helped. It was a really gentle score, and I just thought, it wasn't too showy, and yeah, it'll probably win best score.
Yeah, absolutely. Pat, for yourself?
Yeah, I thought the score was beautiful, but I love the Trent Reznor score in Mank. So, and I haven't seen next week's 4 movies, but I loved the Trent Reznor score. It is quite showy, but the movies like of that 1930s. Sorry to skip ahead onto Mank, but I don't think it wins best score for me. I don't see it winning any of the Oscars. I don't think.
Ooh, yeah. Big call.
Maybe the grandmother. I'm sorry, I'm not saying her name either because it's just
you're okay. You're all allowed not say it. I have to say it. I at least have to say it once. But you have my permission not to say it. I'll take the bullet for this one. But yeah, I think she's most likely to win if anyone is. But Conor, for yourself, aside from Best Picture,
yeah, I will admit that like everyone's talking about how unreal the score was, but I did watch this movie on 1.5 speed, so thanks very much. So didn't really get to appreciate that much. But yeah, the problem is I don't know a lot of people who are up for nominations. But is the granny nominated?
She is Best Supporting Actress.
Okay. I think she could have a good chance of getting it, even though I don't know the other nominees, but I thought she was unbelievable. Absolutely brilliant.
Yep. That's fair. I would agree with you in that. If I was going to pick outside of Best Picture, I would definitely go for Best Supporting Actress. I think she's one of the favourites for that. And winning the BAFTA will definitely help. And before we continue on, last question. Did it deserve to be nominated for Best Picture? Jamie, you first.
Well, I mean, I think Nicole said earlier as well, it's like one of those years where there's like not a lot of big films came out last year, so I think a few of these probably wouldn't have been in a normal Oscars year. But that's not to say it isn't good. I just thought it was a little bit Oscar bait personally. So I'm not saying it didn't deserve it. It sounds really harsh, but yeah, it was a little bit Oscar bait for me.
Conflict sells, so be as harsh as you want. Nicole, for yourself.
Look, I feel like this film really would benefit from being seen on a big screen, which unfortunately we haven't been able to, very few people would be able to see it. And I feel like our opinions might have been a little bit different if we hadn't just watched them at home. But I think it does deserve it. I think it does have some merit to it. And it's a story out there for not me.
Fair. Yeah. They won't put that in the poster, I think. Not a Nicole story. Pat, for yourself?
I think it deserves to be nominated, but that could be, as Jamie said, I haven't seen a lot of competition for it this year. So, but from what I've seen, it deserves to get nominated.
Yeah, that's fair. And Conor Burke, for yourself to see us out?
Yeah, I think it just purely based off of the rest of the movies I've watched, there's no reason why it shouldn't be nominated. I mean, there might have been a lot of other movies not nominated at all for this that are way more deserving, but I haven't seen any of them. Purely based off the 4 we're talking about this week, the 4 we're talking about next week, I don't see any reason why it didn't deserve to be nominated for Best Picture.
Yep, that's absolutely fair. So that is our coverage of Minari. I could not wait to get that out of the way because I'm so scared to pronounce any of their names. So we're going to keep going. We're going to move on, and we're going to go with the one Pat actually mentioned briefly with the score. We're going to move on to Mank. And Mank is the most nominated this year at the Oscars. It's nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actress, Best Original Score, Best Sound, Best Cinematography, Best Production Design, and Best Costume Design, and Best Makeup and Hair Styling. Jamie, coming to you first. Of the people involved, the main names up there: David Fincher, Gary Oldman, Amanda Seyfried. Who else is in the cast? Your man from Game of Thrones, I always forget his name, Charles Dance. Of when you were watching it, if anyone popped up, or from going in to see it, what names stand out to you the most?
I mean, Gary Oldman, obviously, brilliant performance in this film. I really liked what's his name from Game of Thrones? I totally just said it and I've totally blanked. All right, I started watching the film and I'm like, who is that again? I recognize him. And not the whole film. I'm like, don't go on your phone. Just watch the film. And then I was like, oh, yeah, it's Charles Dance. But yeah, no. Yeah, Mank was good. It was a slow burn, wasn't it? Like I sort of watched the first 40 minutes. No, wasn't. I did.
Is he breaking or are we breaking?
But
and I'm sure he's making wonderful points now as well. This is real game-changing stuff, you could say. Jamie, I think you're back now after just finishing your sentence.
Oh, fuck.
You want to go for it? You want to go for that again? Take two. Take two.
Where did you get to?
Nowhere. You can literally say the whole thing.
No, I was just saying that Mank. I was saying that Mank was a slow burn. That like I sort of watched the first 40 minutes and I was like, this is okay. And then as it went on, I got more into it. I got really into like the big speech he gave. And then I really liked how it ended. I liked how it played out. I recently saw Citizen Kane as well, so like that sort of helped me appreciate this as well. But no, I thought it was good. Gary Oldman was really good. It wasn't like the most amazing film in the world. Like I'm thinking of the other Oscar nominations that we're talking about tonight. It's probably the weakest as a film out of those. But I still really liked it, and like I really enjoyed watching it. And the performance was really good. I always like to see a bit of old Hollywood, so it's cool.
That's a rarity saying you enjoyed this, because this is my fourth time covering Mank, because I'm obviously best actor, best supporting actor. I will be covering best director and best screenplay. And everyone that I've had so far have been like, about this, or have been texting me, about it, because it has not gone down the best. I will say personally, I did really enjoy it, because I guess my expectations were low, and I love a super stylized movie that is completely 100% the director's own, and it's a very un-David Fincher movie as well, which I found very interesting. But Nicole, going to you, of the actors involved and the behind the scenes, which names stand out to you the most? What did you know them from previously, and what is your favorite of them in the past?
Well, obviously Gary Oldman is brilliant. I don't think this is his best work. I I don't know why, but my favorite of his performance to me is like Sid and Nancy. So I'm a bit of a wild
card. That's great. Wow.
I have to say, I think this might be my favorite performance from Amanda Seyfried. I think she's really good in this, and she look the part as well. She looks like great. Straight out of a 1930s film. And I also think that Charles Dance is great in this as well. He has that like quiet kind of menace to him that just suits the character brilliantly. I think this is a real standout for him. I think he might be the standout of this movie. He gets a real time. Yeah. But overall, the movie, I found it quite challenging. I don't think it's the most broad audience friendly movie by any stretch of imagination. This is obviously a baby of David Fincher's, and he doesn't coddle us at all. So either you get the little in things about Citizen Kane, or you don't, and you just appreciate it for how it is. And I think my favorite part of this whole film is just the technical achievement in it. I think it looks gorgeous. I think it looks like a 1930s movie. But in terms of getting me emotionally invested in the story, didn't really do that for me.
That's interesting. Yeah, and it's completely understandable because of the nature of the beast. You're either in or you're not. You know what I mean? Because I think it's impossible not to appreciate the performances in it. And I think the film at certain points, it's so 1940s flick mixed with sort of real life issues and stuff like that it does draw you in, and then it leaves you in this weird headspace, but also it can be kind of a huge disconnect to that too. It's a brave decision to make. But Pat, for yourself, which of the names stand out to you the most, and what did you like them in before seeing this film, and your thoughts on the movie itself?
Yeah, I mean, obviously Gary Oldman and Charles Dance were the names that really stood out. What was the Churchill movie that Gary Oldman played?
Darkest Hour.
Yeah, that I love that performance. I think this performance is like up there. I will say I was more impressed by the movie than entertained. I loved it. I thought it was incredible. It looked amazing. The dialogue was super witty. I got up at 6 o'clock to watch it, so I was kind of sleepy, and it requires a lot of energy to pay attention. And I also think it almost can't be watched by itself. You need to watch Citizen Kane first, because I've seen Citizen Kane, but it's been a long time, and I no doubt it's just constant references to that movie. And I know it's shot in the same style with the kind of timeline all over the place. So I wish I knew that, and I wish I watched Citizen Kane and then watched Mank. I feel like I would have enjoyed it even more, but I did think it was amazing. And Charles Dance was probably one of the standout performances as well. What little he had to do, he was just amazing.
I completely agree. But was anyone else put off? You know, when someone who doesn't speak in an accent, like he speaks in a British accent like all the time, so he does an American one, you're like, you're putting on a voice. Because I thought he was fantastic, but like my favorite moment was when he was was when he was Gary Oldman doing the big monologue, and he's just looking at him. Because then you're just seeing Tywin Lannister, being super intimidating. But Conor, coming to you, and guys, and if you're wherever you're watching, please keep your comments coming in. Please like the video. Please subscribe to the channel. Please share the love. Always appreciate it. But Conor, coming to you, of everyone in this, what name stands out the most to you that you've seen before? What you liked them in before, and what did you think of the movie as a whole?
Well, I love Gary Oldman, obviously. Person I was most impressed in this film, like Nicole said, was Amanda Seyfried. I thought she was absolutely fantastic. I kind of missed the opening credits. I don't know, I must have looked down at my phone or something, and when I saw her on screen, I was like, is that Amanda Seyfried? And I was like, it is. She was brilliant. I think this is one of my favorite roles I've seen her in. I was really impressed by her. I didn't dislike the film again. I was absolutely shocked when you said that it's the most nominated this year. It was like very aesthetically pleasing. Like, obviously, like, you know, the way it was filmed is really impressive. I thought Gary Oldman in it was really charming in it. Like, he was very funny. Oscar award winning performance. Probably not. Like, again, it's not a movie I'd ever revisit. I wouldn't ever, you know, be having like a few drinks at home and be like, oh, let's watch Mank. Do you know what I mean? Yeah. But I can acknowledge also it's not one of those movies. So it was like, I enjoyed it, but like wouldn't be my fave.
Yeah, I'm like, I get what you're saying there about it being and guys, get your thoughts in the comments. What do you think of Mank as well? Of the fact that it got 10 nominations. I'm surprised it got the most, as because I don't consider it to be the best film this year. But in the same way, I am not surprised because it's such a technical film. There's so much stuff that's going on with it that I can see why it built up a lot of awards, like the makeup and hair and makeup. Like clearly, you can see why that. Let me just see what else there is. There's hair and makeup. There's costume design, absolutely. Cinematography, absolutely. Sound. Someone messaged me today saying it better not win sound. And I'm like, okay, I'll go to you on this, Jamie, with this one, right? I'm sure. Let me just check if Sound of Metal is nominated for sound. Yes, it is. So sound in Sound of Metal is obviously a huge part of that because of the way the hearing and the way they do that in it, and that would be my favorite when we get to that one anyway. But like in Mank, it's everything is done ADR. You know, everything is done on a soundstage after the filmmaking because they were that dedicated to making it as unique to a 1940s film. So when it comes to these sort of awards, is it style over substance? Is it the amount of effort they go to recreate that time, that era, or is it just the best?
In terms of sound, like.
Well, no, I mean like across the board. But just I'm using this as an example.
I think Hollywood loves to give awards to films about Hollywood. I think that's like always been quite a key thing in the Oscars. I mean, like things like La La Land, which I do like, but you know, I mean, it's very much like if you look at the last sort of few years, like even Once Upon a Time in Hollywood got a lot of nominations as well because it's about Hollywood. So I think it's a common thing in Hollywood that they love films about themselves, you know. I mean, it's very technically well made, but I just think I'm surprised it has the most nominations because I don't think it's the strongest film. But yeah, I mean, the sound is very good. To be fair, the score is very good.
Yeah. Well, no, the score and sound are different. And by the way, my mate Savannah just texted me. No, you don't know. You know now because I just told you.
That's not
what Jamie, my mate Savannah just texted me saying, "Who's that Scottish guy?" Wow. So congratulations.
Oh, thank you.
Yeah. That's no problem.
Can I just quickly say it's lovely to be surrounded by such beautiful voices. Honestly, what a treat.
Yeah, fucking liquors. Okay, Nicole, for you. I'm sorry, we have Dublin Souls here who's watching for their own amusement, I guess. This is the first year I've seen exactly 0 Best Pictures. Well, wait, here they are to have them spoiled. So, Nicole, you... Okay, well, I'm going to bring this in to compare to Minari because they're 2 completely separate films, completely different. Both nominated for Best Picture, both different aspects. One is showing the darkness of Hollywood back in the 40s, the difference of idealisms, in some ways you can compare it to today, someone trying to actually be genuine being stamped down for what they want to portray the world as. And then you have Minari, which is a real human, real small, real intimate story. Which one of these appeals to you more?
I know that I just spent like 40 minutes talking about how I didn't have a connection with Minari, but then I realized, oh shit, I had less of a connection with Mank. What am I going to say? I need to figure my feelings. But I'm going to go with Minari in terms of me preferring it and enjoying it more because I enjoyed it. I had more of a connection like with the grandma character, and we all know I fucking love the grandma character in Minari. But anyway, yeah, no, definitely I would go with Minari over Mank. What was I going to say? I was going to say something. In terms of I think a lot of people, okay, here's a film that came out this year as well, and I think it's kind of like a sister movie, and you're going to go crazy, Joe, but I feel like this is kind of like Tenet. I know, I'm sorry. In the same way where it's technically impressive, but you're left feeling a little bit cold. At least that was just my...
Okay, Nicole. Okay, Nicole. I'm gonna minimize you now. No, I do not like Tenet at all. I defended that film for far too long to people because I remember to actually Pat. I defended it, not defended it. Yes, kind of defended. I think I was on like the fence, like coming back to the good side when I was talking to you about it. When I was like, I'm too stupid to get this. Do you know, Christopher Nolan is too smart. I'm a big dum-dum. I don't get the film. And then over the last while, I've been like, no, he just didn't make it good enough. And that's just it. And he has had a huge falling out. I'm sorry, Dublin Soul just commented. Yous are doing a fine job not spoiling. Fair play. Didn't think we were. I was fairly loose and happy enough to spoil whatever I was doing. But thank you, Dublin Souls. But yeah, Tenet just wrecked me. And I pretended it was good for a while, but and it looks like Christopher Nolan's going to be a free agent because he has like an open checkbook with Warner Brothers where he can make whatever he wants with no restraint. But because they didn't back Tenet at the Oscar, they backed Judas and the Black Messiah and left. I don't know if he's even nominated for anything. He's like, I'm done with this now. I'll go somewhere else, and hopefully I make him do good films. That's the name of every Nolan movie. It's called He is an Emotionless Genius. Wow, okay. That's an interesting shout. It's a very interesting shout.
Can I just quickly say on Tenet, right? I thought it was fine. It was fine. I enjoyed watching it. It was nice to go to the cinema and see a blockbuster. But if you write a film that you have to watch twice to understand, then you'd failed as a writer. And yes. I personally think that's my opinion.
Yep, and that was the first time. And he didn't work with Jonathan Nolan on a film as well, and it showed. But we're going to go from a rank film to a Mank film. So Pat, did you feel was there a connection for you with this film? And if there wasn't, where did it fall down for you?
I think that was a fair comparison Nicole made because while I do think I could understand and connect to this a lot more if I had just watched Citizen Kane right before it and read up on my history of Hollywood. I don't really want to have to do that to understand and appreciate a movie. Like if I hadn't seen Citizen Kane, this movie just wouldn't have been enjoyable at all. So I actually, while I don't think it's a super rewatchable movie, I probably will watch Citizen Kane and revisit it just to truly appreciate it. But yeah, I did enjoy it. I enjoyed every second. I thought it was amazing what he achieved, the way it looked. I thought the acting was superb. But did I connect to it? I connected to Minari more.
Yeah. But on a whole, in like to kind of step away from Mank for just 1 second, is it what sort of films would you connect it to more? Would it be those kind of more spectacle? Well, obviously there was heart in Mank as well, but would it be the family sort of drama, the kitchen sink drama more so?
Yeah, it's character driven drama. Character development wins for me every time. While I do enjoy big blockbusters and impressive set pieces, it's all about character driven drama for me.
Yeah, that's fair. Dublin Soul's back with a great comment. Disagree with that. Tenet just has layers. Yeah, but my bed has layers, and when it's too uncomfortable, I take layers off. Okay, so that's my
Oh, that was quick.
He may have failed on a superficial level, Nolan, but it works on a rewatch, even if you don't like it the first time. Yeah, but I agree with Jamie. It's not like The Dark Knight. It's not like Interstellar, where you enjoyed the first time and you look forward to a rewatch. And Inception, it's why do I have to go back and watch something if I didn't enjoy it the first time? That's where I lie on that one by Christopher Nolan. But Conor, seems like a million years since we went to you. On Mank, what was it that you liked about it? I know there's a lot of disagreement. You were surprised with this and that and all, but is there anything that drew you into it that you were like, this is what's holding it for you?
I thought Gary Oldman and Seyfried gave lovely performances. Like I'm really interested in things as Pat was saying, that's character driven. And sometimes I think, like, when I'm watching a movie, if one of these characters died right now, would I be upset about it? And if the answer is no, I'm just like not emotionally connected to the characters, don't care what happens to them. It's essentially a story about an old man writing a movie and trying to find like an emotional resonance to that when you're a 20-something-year-old living at home with your mom and dad in the middle of a global pandemic is hard. So like there's not a lot to draw on. Like I don't think it's a bad film. I just like it was just bad to me. Do you know what I mean? And we completely agree with Nicole as well with like I thought that like Minari was the movie that I related to least, but then I thought of, the second Joe said Mank, I was like, how did I forget this? But yeah, no, like it was fine. Like I genuinely have no opinion of it in the sense that like I don't think it was a bad movie, but it was just it just wasn't for me.
That's fair. Dublin Soul, this is the last comment I'm putting up for Christopher Nolan, by the way, because he's not nominated this year. Why should you go back? Because Nolan has earned it with his body of work. Same with Kubrick. Yeah, you're only as good as your most recent film. That's it. So I actually am the biggest Christopher Nolan fan across the board. I think he's a very good filmmaker, but I wouldn't say he's the best ever. You know, I wouldn't put him across with Stanley Kubrick. Not taking anything away from him, I just don't think he's absolutely phenomenal. And this is definitely the last one. Acceptance are so freaking high. The second time you watch, you will get a fair shake and understand it more. But I don't want to.
You know, Joe, could I quickly say again, right? When I said that Christopher Nolan had failed as a writer, I just think as a writer you have a responsibility. You don't owe the audience anything. Like you're expecting them to give them 2 hours of their time. Why would you can't expect them to give them that twice. I think you have a responsibility to your audience as a director and a writer. So that's what I meant by that.
And that's absolutely fair. Jamie hates Christopher Nolan and he's paying for his blood. But someone who hasn't got a shout out at all on this so far, which is kind of surprising, seeing as he is a filmmaker who I think is better than Christopher Nolan, is David Fincher, because this is a film, like obviously it's probably his most famous film, is probably Fight Club. But Seven as well, Social Network, The last film he made was Gone Girl. You know, this guy is an expert filmmaker, and this is a complete departure from anything he's ever done before. And it's what I respect and love about it is that it's a love story from him basically to his dad in a way, because his dad wrote this 20 years ago, and he passed away since. So he made this for his dad. Sorry, this is Elliot. This is Jamie's underling. Tell Jamie McKinlay to stop messaging me when I'm editing his podcast. P.S. Love your show, Joe. Thanks so much, Elliot.
I just sent him the link. But
yeah, Jamie. You hard taskmaster over here. But thanks so much, Elliot. Thanks for being in the comments, and I'll keep him away from you. But what are your thoughts on, we'll say, as a scope of what he created on screen? Whether you loved it or whether you didn't, you have to have respect for the amount of effort and detail that went into it, and for the fact he put a coherent story together that is basically mirroring what some consider the greatest film of all time. So, Jamie, I'll go to you. What are your thoughts on what David Fincher created? Let's say.
Yeah, no, it's a very well-made film. It's beautiful to look at. It's a nice, well-constructed film. And I think his dad wrote the script for it in the 90s.
He did. I literally just said that.
Yeah, I know. You said
think. No, but you said you think.
It's just a way of speaking.
You're trying to claim my fact.
I can't commit to anything, Joe. We know this. I can't commit to a thought.
That's true.
No, I just so obviously the way that he's given it, it's nice to see him make his own passion project and do something for his dad and stuff as well. So you can tell he has a lot of heart in this film, and it's always lovely to see a film that is the film that the filmmaker set out to make. Exactly, you can tell he has everything in this was hit, he's got his stamp all over it, if that makes sense. So that's really always great to see. So he achieved that.
Yeah, 100%. Nicole, for you, what David Fincher created?
Like I said before, I think this is an incredible technical achievement, and I think it deserves all the other awards that it's got nominated for. See, the thing is, David Fincher is actually probably one of my favorite directors ever. He's directed, I love Gone Girl, I love Girl with the Dragon Tattoo, all of his movies. This is my least favorite, and I actually haven't seen his entire, catalog. But yeah. But it's my least favorite so far, but I can appreciate it for what it is. It really does look like Citizen Kane. And yeah, good for you. Good for you.
He's finally got Nicole's seal of approval. This is what he's been working his whole career for. When he made Alien 3, when he was forced to do that in 1995, he said, "I will make the film that will make Nicole O'Connor, that'll make not born yet Nicole O'Connor say, good job, son." Pat, I know you are a fan of David Fincher.
Yeah.
And where would you rank this film with what he's created before in the past?
I agree with Nicole. I think I connected with at least. I disagree with you in that I think it is a very David Fincher movie. You can tell how methodically everything had been shot. The dialogue is fast paced, like The Social Network. And I thought it was a David Fincher movie. Obviously it was black and white and he had adjusted it to make it look like it was shot in the 40s or whatever. But again, yeah, like Nicole said, I thought it was an amazing achievement. I was super impressed, but it wasn't like Zodiac or Seven where I'm just gripped from the get-go and on the edge of my seat and I'm super invested in every line. I definitely tuned out for 2-minute periods during the movie and I'd be like, shit, what just happened? I'm trying to catch up and, I had to pause and rewind a few times to catch certain lines and it just wasn't the most enjoyable experience I've had watching a movie as opposed to all of these other movies that I've seen.
Yes, I would agree. I think, and way to disagree with the host, you're looking to get yourself banned, Mr. But Conor, I know we've discussed this many times before that you are not the biggest film buff in the world, but speaking of David Fincher, he is a name that a lot of people would know anyway, but of the films that we've mentioned, have you seen them before and how would you compare them to them if you have? If you have.
Yeah, I think I've only seen 2 of David Fincher's movies before and I way preferred them over this. I think it's just as Pat was saying there about he found himself zoning out a few times, is that just I think a massive part of the problem is I'm just simply not interested in the subject matter. Like, I just don't care. Like, what's the consequence? The consequence is, oh Jesus, he won't get this movie made. But like, we know it gets made. So it's like there's no emotional connection, and there's no consequences, and it's lovely to look at, and I think it is well directed, and I think Gary Oldman gives a good performance. I think Gary Oldman gives an amazing performance, but a good Gary Oldman performance. I think that's another problem as well, and I think Amanda Seyfried gives a fantastic Amanda Seyfried performance, which is probably why she was my standout in this movie.
Okay, cool. So getting on to the last round of questions, Jamie, what is your standout scene from Mank? What got it the nomination, do you believe?
I really, really liked the speech he gave to in like at the meal, like the flashback when he gives the speech. That was just, I thought that was great. Like, very theatrical, but really, really good like performance from Gary Oldman. Just like, I think it summed up what the film was about as well. And obviously, if you'd seen Citizen Kane, like, you know that guy's meant to be who the film Citizen Kane was sort of based on, who Citizen Kane as a character even was based on. So yeah, no, I thought that scene was absolutely brilliant. Like, very, very good.
Yeah. Nicole, for yourself?
My favorite scene from this movie was the dinner scene. Where Gary Oldman's ranting and raving, and I was just, you're looking at Charles Dance and waiting for him to absolutely murder him. And I guess really my favorite scene is what comes after, where he just kind of calmly walks him out and gives him that terrifying parable.
Yes.
No, I thought that was really good, and it's, you don't expect that from him. He's almost kind to him, but he's just like, you know what, you can do whatever the fuck you want because I'm the big studio head and I'm influencing bloody elections. So
you're just a little prick. That's all you are. Everyone say cheers for cheese for Instagram, please. Literally no one is saying cheese, they're all just smiling. Cheese. You're all weirdos.
I feel like I should put my light on, actually. It's getting very dark in here. The sun is going down.
It's getting quite an interesting background you got there. But also something I need to point out, that Gary Oldman is 60 years old playing a 33-year-old. I feel that needs to be said. And we discussed that in depth in the episode we released today with Dan Monahan, discussing the lead actors. But Pat, for you, what is your standout scene?
Yeah, I think the obvious one is that dinner scene, which I read he shot it 100 times. Which for me, and I hear that a lot with the Fincher, you know, his style of filmmaking, where he keeps shooting things over and over. And I wonder if that, like, kind of takes from the performance a little bit, if they're just doing it over and over again. I'm not an actor, but it feels like that might be frustrating for actors. Anyway, and I also loved Charles Dance walking him to the door. Like, who better than Charles Dance to completely disarm him with that great parable, so coldly delivered. Like, I just thought that was amazing, and it kind of gave an insight into probably some of his motives for writing Citizen Kane. It was like a personal vengeance to take him down, like a character assassination, you know. But also, I love the scene where he's been dry for a while and he orders all this whiskey or whatever it is, the liquor that comes and arrives, and the British lady who's taking care of him won't let him have it. Yeah. And then that the German woman tells her the story, and she finally, it's like the moment where she gives in and realizes she likes him and he's charming and she thinks he's a good man. And she just drinks with him. I know it's like not the best message to just give in to alcoholism, but it was like it was a lovely moment where, like, because up until then she didn't really know what to make of him. She didn't like him that much, and then she just realized he has a good heart, and like all of his kind of bravado is just like almost a defense mechanism. I really like that moment.
Yeah, that's Phil Collins's daughter.
Oh, really?
I wonder how she got a career in acting.
She was very good, to be fair, Joe.
Yeah. Connor, coming to you now. What is your standout scene? What got it the nomination, do you believe? If you can find one.
I really like the scene with Louis B. Mayer in it, where he comes in to tell the studio that he's going to give them all a pay. And somehow, within the space of 3 minutes, they're like, wait, what the fuck? And then 2.5 minutes later, it's like, oh, okay. I mean, sure, I'll take the pay cut. I thought that was really well performed. But then, obviously, the scene towards the end where Gary Oldman gets pissed. Brilliant.
My favorite part, because that was going to be my standout scene, the Louis B. Mayer. My favorite part was in Shirley Templeton. Who goes, "I'll do it, Louis," and then there was some woman beside her who went, "That little bitch." Yeah, just by look, she didn't say it. She didn't go that. She just by look. I was like, yeah, I love that's my standout scene as well. So we'll go standout performer, then we'll go other nominations, and then we'll go to deserve to be nominated. So who's your standout performer, Jamie?
Well, I mean, I guess it has to be Gary Oldman because he's like the main part of the film. But like, obviously, Gary Oldman's a legend, and like he was very, very good in this film. Like, just such an enjoyable like performance to watch. Like, I feel like he was the main thing of the film that was like keeping me sort of interested in parts. Because I think Pat said earlier that like there was some scene where you like sort of zoned out a wee bit, and you'd be like, oh, and then Gary Oldman would say, you know, be very Gary Oldman and draw you back. Although, is it Amanda Seyfried, her name, if I've got that wrong?
Amanda Seyfried, yeah.
But she was Seyfried, sorry. She was very good as well. I really enjoyed her whenever she was in the film. So, like the scene when they're standing on the fire and stuff, really liked that. So, yeah.
Yeah, 100%. Nicole, for yourself, stand-up performer?
Yeah, I think I gave it away in the first few things that I said about this. Amanda Seyfried and Charles Dance for best performance. But I think Charles Dance just because I wanted him to get his little moment in the sun. So there you go.
Yeah. Pat, for yourself?
All the performances were great. I thought Gary Oldman was a force of nature. I thought he was fantastic. I wouldn't be surprised. He definitely deserves to be nominated. Like, despite some of the flaws I have with the movie, I just thought he was amazing. And as Jamie said, he drew me back in all the time, and he's what carried it for me. And he's on the screen for probably 98% of the movie. So I think he's the standout.
98%. I believe it's 98.1. Connor, I think you said it already who your standout is, but
you see, I'd actually disagree with Pat there. Like, I thought Gary Oldman was brilliant in this film, but like, he's Gary Oldman. And I don't like movies that seem to be written around getting a star vehicle and getting a nomination. And I feel like this is what this is. And I don't like when I notice it. Do you know what I mean? Fair play if it's like, oh, leading actor, but you don't notice it. But it's like, this is so fucking obvious. And because Gary Oldman is so brilliant, it's just in general and everything else. It's just compared to other performances that I have in my mind when I think about him, I just don't think it's up to scratch with a lot of other things he's done, which is why my standout is 100% Amanda Seyfried. Because I feel like people associate her with, you know, kind of like comedies or like more kitschy kind of stuff. So she really impressed me in this.
Yeah, my standout actually is, I think I would agree with Pat saying that I think Gary Oldman is a revelation in this. I think he's absolutely exceptional. How he's able to deal with like the kind of odd style the film's in, like pitch perfectly, I think is phenomenal. But my standout is actually, what's his name? The guy who plays Louis B. Mayer, because he's so briefly in it. And he's also like, and he's a big, you know, he's the big dick when he wants to be, when he talks them all into taking a pay cut, thinking it's a good idea. But then also he's a sniveling sidekick when Gary Oldman is doing his drunken speech. He's beside Charles Dance's character, and he looks like the worm tongue with Sauron. Sorry, you're going to get shot there. Lord of the Rings reference. So that would be my standout performer, I think, of like, you know, the hipster.
Who was that actor? Who played him?
I think it was me. No, I'm actually not sure. I'm really not sure. But across the board
wonder
now,
you fucking love this movie, Joe. Listen to literally everyone else I know. No wonder you love this film.
Jamie, for yourself, final question: did it deserve to be nominated?
I mean, I think out of all, as I said earlier, out of all the films that have been nominated, I think this probably is the least deserving. Does that really mean to say? Yeah, I'm going to stand by that.
Yeah,
but it's still a very good film. I don't dislike it.
Okay, it sounds like you dislike it a bit.
I don't at all.
No. You made your bed. No, I'm still on top of it. Nicole, for yourself, did it deserve to be nominated?
I'm gonna say yes, because it's a hell of a movie-ass movie, and do you ever see a movie and you're like, that's a movie-ass movie? This is a movie-ass movie. That doesn't really make much sense.
Hey, look, it makes as much sense as anything we've heard so far. It's a movie-ass movie, and if that doesn't go on the poster, they're really missing the trick. Pat, for yourself, did it deserve to be nominated?
100%. I thought it was. Yeah, I think it had to be nominated. It was just an amazing achievement, and despite, even though it wasn't a full home run for me, it's such a specific thing for a specific audience. If you're judging it on that merit, I thought it was amazing. But I didn't connect to it as much as Minari, and this might sound silly, but I still think it probably is more of an Oscar-deserving movie than Minari, because I've seen a lot of Minari-style movies. I'll never see another movie like this again.
I'm 100% on Pat, and I don't know why. It looked like you're going to slam something against the table there. The way you leant back, there. It deserves an Oscar. Conor, for yourself, I think we know the answer, but go on, see us out.
No, it does. I'm joking. I think it does deserve a nomination. Just wasn't for me.
Wasn't for me. That's fair. That's absolutely fair. Guys, we're halfway through so far. Thank you so much, everyone that's been tuning in so far. We really, really appreciate it. Get your thoughts in the comments, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel, all those lovely, lovely things, and subscribe to these guys as well. We're going to move on next to one of the favorites, I believe, for a number of awards, and one of the more recent ones I've seen. It was actually the final one of the 8 nominees, which is Sound of Metal. Sound of Metal is nominated for Best Picture, obviously, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Film Editing, and Best Sound. Jamie, there's Riz Ahmed, Paul Raci are the main actors in it. I don't have to. What's her name? Sorry, I'm gonna get her name.
Olivia Cook.
Olivia Cook. Yeah. So, of those, what's a standout name that came to you from it? And who's the director again? Actually, the director is
Darius Marder. Is his name? Darius
Marder. Yes, Marder. Yeah. But of those names, is there anyone that pops out? And what are your thoughts generally on the film?
I absolutely loved The Sound of Metal. For me, so far, that would be my best picture. I absolutely loved it. I thought it was brilliant. I really like Riz Ahmed. He's in Four Lions, which I think is an exceptional film. But he was really, really good in this. I just really enjoyed it. I thought it was such a refreshing film. I've never really seen a film about deafness before, so it was really interesting to see. And I've been reading loads about people that, the deaf community and stuff. And I just thought this film did such a good job of it. It was just such a nice film. Him playing the drums at the start, and Riz Ahmed learned how to play the drums for this film and things. I just thought it was great. I thought Olivia Cook was great as well. I really liked it. It was a brilliant piece of cinema. Really good filmmaking.
Finally, I think there's going to be a film that's going to get across the world, across the scope with everyone. Positivity. Nicole, on to you.
Yeah, I agree. I saw Sound of Metal months ago, and I was so shocked when I found out it was being nominated for films. I thought I just saw this little film, and it's one of those years that these kind of smaller stories are being shown. But yeah, I think Riz Ahmed is just a standout. I believe that he really immersed himself in the character. He learned American Sign Language. He learned the drums when he was shooting as well. Sometimes he would wear auditory blockers, so he was actually deaf in some of the scenes. I think he just really threw himself into the role. So he's a definite standout for me. And yeah, no, I think this is a great movie. And it's a great kind of, I think it's a relatable story in a sense that it's about identity, and he kind of refuses to accept who he is and what his life is become. and it causes him all this huge amount of strife until ultimately at the end he can sit in silence and that was
and accept his fate. Pat, on to you. I'm actually very interested in what you have to say, because of the many instruments you play along with our hairstrings, your first instrument I can really remember you playing is the drums. I know you say sometimes that you started off playing the flute, but I think that's a lie, a dirty lie. So you play the drums. Was there a special kind of connection you had from being a musician, first of all? Obviously, you're a singer-songwriter as well, that you had when you were watching this film. And did you know much about it prior going in to see it? Did you even know it was about this?
Well, first of all, it's my favorite movie by far of these four. I haven't seen the four from next week. But yeah, as a musician, I mean, your most valuable thing is your ear, and so it was a genius move to have him be a metal drummer where his ears are being assaulted constantly, and it's a terrifying idea for me. If I lost my hearing, I honestly don't know what I'd do. There's nothing else that I'm interested in, and so.
Well, Pat, and speaking of that, I remember when you went for the Voice of Ireland, you were put down as a social worker student, I think, wasn't it? When you were studying social work, and I was like, no, you aren't. Like, because it was in that brief moment where you left college and you were like, what are we doing now? And then you won the Voice of Ireland. But like, I think you were put down as a social worker student or something like that.
That's hilarious. I don't remember. I did like one social work class after I dropped out of college. But I've only ever been a musician, and so, your ears are the most valuable thing. And I watched this when it first came out, so my memory is way more fuzzy than the previous two movies. But I just remember being totally blown away by his performance and the movie and that relationship he had with the AA guy. I absolutely loved it. So
yeah. And do you know, is there any horror stories of that sort of thing happening in real life? Have you heard about? Or
yeah. Most musicians I know struggle with their ears. Like, I would say more than half. I'm lucky. I play acoustic guitar now, and I haven't been in like a rock band since I was a teenager. So I think I'm pretty safe. I don't play in a loud band. But like, especially older musicians I know, they all struggle with their hearing. Some of them are completely deaf in one ear. A lot of them have tinnitus, where they just have this ringing all the time. I've been lucky. My ears are fine. But it's a terrifying thing.
It's genuinely, because I didn't actually know what this film was about at all. I've been so wrapped up with doing the other podcast stuff that this sort of film sort of came and went and stuff like that, and I didn't even really pay attention to it. I obviously knew Riz Ahmed just kind of I knew him to look at, but I don't even think I knew that was his name. So when this was coming on, I literally was like, he's playing drums. I was like, I don't know where this is going. And then when it happened, I was like, oh my God, terrifying. Conor, for yourself, did you know any of the actors beforehand prior to going into it? Did you know anything about the film?
No, I actually knew none of the actors beforehand. Your man Riz looks really familiar. British. I was saying this to you, Joe. Was he in like a British TV show or something?
He could have easily been in Skins, but I actually don't know what he was in. Like, he was in Sloan's thing, yeah.
He was in Four Lions. He was in Rogue One as well. He's in Star Wars.
Rogue One.
Oh, okay, right. So he was absolutely incredible in this movie. Like, unbelievable. Could not take my eyes off him. I just thought that he was so he was just so truthful and so honest, and I really felt for him the entire time. And I do have to agree with Nicole. It is a movie about a lot of things. Like, it's about like accepting that sometimes your life isn't the way you want it to be, or your life, you're not where you are at in your life, and like how that can be difficult, but sometimes when you accept it, things will get better. And I just thought it was a lovely message.
Yeah, because the thing was, when you're watching it as well, the level that they were at as a musician is quite good, because they obviously have a lovely tour bus, they have gigs, they've got fans, they've got people that come watch them. But you also get the feeling that they don't have like a disposable income. That if something like this happens, they literally have nothing. They have absolutely nothing to fall back on. And it was that sort of anxiety throughout the whole thing. And actually it's mentioned, because the episode, like I said today, that is with Dan and people should check out. We go into depth about Riz Ahmed's performance, because obviously he's nominated for Best Actor. But like, Well, kind of like I kept forgetting that he was. I had a few Guinnesses when I was watching that he was deaf because you know when they're at the kitchen table and they weren't talking to him, like everyone was signing and there was no subtitles, and I was like, why isn't he going? Someone speak to me. Then I was like, oh no, Joe, he's deaf and he can't understand sign language. This is an entirely him problem, you know. Sorry, Kyle Van Jacoby. Thanks for hi everyone. Hi to you too, Kyle. Great name. Probably fake. Great name. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, but in this film, it was like a completely anxiety driven the whole way through. And now I do have a couple of issues with it that I'll come to you first with Jamie. A very interesting point in the film is when he's sent away from the rehab center because his hearing is fixed, and but when they go, you're 4 weeks completely deaf. I found it interesting that like they didn't show the 4 weeks at all. It went straight away from there to Paris. Like, did my mind lapse, or was there something I'm missing there?
I didn't mind that personally. I thought it worked for the story. Like, I didn't really. We'd already he's been deaf for like most of the film. Like, I don't know if we needed to see him deaf for another 4 weeks. Like, for what it was trying to say, I thought it was good. No, I didn't. That wasn't an issue for me. And I actually I found it really interesting the way, like, because I didn't know a lot. As I was saying, like, I work in care part time, and I know quite a lot about disability now. But deafness is a disability I've not really had to work with anyone with before. So this was just really interesting for me as a carer as a disability as well. And like, apparently the deaf community are really proud. They're like a really proud community, and they actually don't. There's a lot of controversy around whether within the deaf community if people like getting their hearing fixed and stuff, and like. Because they don't see it as a ability, they see it as like it's like their life. So I really, really liked how this film explored that. So
yeah,
it was
I completely agree with you, and also the fact that like not deaf, me, I can hear you, but I thought the sound for this film was absolutely exceptional for the fact not only did it show completely deaf, which is just turn everything off, complete the sound, but it also felt like it was sound in a vacuum, like it was deafness, but also like the broken hearing. And how they didn't like shy back from that like you could hear for a second and then you go to the normal hearing, so you can give whatever the character Riz Ahmed Rubin went through, that's what you went through as well, which I found fascinating. Nicole, I'm going to come to you. The kind of the love story at the center of this, which is a love story kind of born in pain. We can guess from everything going forward, from the scratch marks on her arms and stuff like that, and the fact that he's a recovering addict and stuff like that as well. They've been together 4 years, and they're in a very like a thrash metal band. What are your thoughts on the relationship between the two of them and how it grew and how it separated over the course of the film?
I thought it was really interesting and a lot more realistic. The fact that the character played by Olivia Cooke, I think her name is Lou, that she actually ditches the whole thing at the end, and she kind of stops being alt. I feel in a way that this film is a little bit of an allegory for addiction recovery and how they're in this kind of toxic kind of situation, even though it looks deadly from the beginning and everything like that. They're kind of using each other as a crutch, and the reason why I say addiction recovery is because the character of Ruben, he spends like the whole movie in denial about his deafness, and eventually it takes him until he's at rock bottom. He stole all of his things. He doesn't have a home. He doesn't have his livelihood. He doesn't have his drums. And he's lost his love. For him, he's rock bottom before he can accept that he's deaf. So I found it really interesting, the fact that they end up being separated, and she ends up you see that she's actually this kind of rich girl. But I think it's done quite delicately as well. That they don't have a big blowout. She's not blamed or anything like that. He just kind of quietly leaves. He realizes, like, okay, well, she's in a much better place for whatever reason. Yeah.
They're living two different lives. I think they like that for me. That the real thing that ripped me apart was the fact that like he was at, we'll say, his happiest when he was deaf. Let's be honest, like when he was teaching the kids how to drum, when he was like in that community, when he had great friends, that's when he was at his peak happiness, you felt in the film. And then everything before that, like he was miserable when you feel like he was miserable when he was a musician because he was angry. He was angry about everything he went through. And then when he got his somewhat hearing back, he was miserable again because he was an outcast because she had moved on. She had kind of gotten better or gotten to a better place. Yeah. So for the fact, it's an expertly told film in that regard. But Pat, your thought on the relationships in this film between Riz Ahmed, between Olivia Cook, between Paul Raci, who played the counselor, including the deaf people who were real deaf people. How do you feel they showcased that in this film?
I thought it was fantastic. And I think there was a nice message at the end where it's like the material things like your relationships and your career and, him playing drums and stuff like that. Ultimately, if you don't have this inner peace and happiness, like none of it's going to fix that. And he's kind of chasing things and trying to cling on to his relationship and trying to get his hearing back. But he's happiest when he just accepts that it's gone and this is his new life and he finds that inner happiness. And I loved their relationship. One of the most devastating things I've ever experienced in a movie is when he gets his hearing fixed. And it's just like, it's a nightmare. I can't imagine anyone living like that. And you really feel what it's like. You almost understand what it's like to be deaf after watching the movie, which in itself is like a very important thing they've achieved. But yeah.
There's something I was going to ask you as well, because he said that, I can play with a click track, it'll be off. Is there any possibility of him being able to do any sort of drumming with like minimal hearing?
It doesn't sound like an enjoyable thing, though. You could, if he had a click track where he could feel the beat and he knew the songs off by heart and they were all following him, it would take the joy out of the collaborative nature of playing music where you kind of bounce off what everyone's doing, be far more robotic. He could do it, but the joy is Beethoven was deaf, so you can do anything. It's about whether you're going to enjoy it or not.
Yeah, but he's dead.
Yeah, he died actually, Beethoven.
Yeah. Sorry, guys.
It was old age that got him.
Yeah, I know we said no spoilers. Really sorry, guys. Conor, on the relationships, which are the kind of the structure of any good film, but what relationship do you feel really got you the most out of this movie?
I think the most interesting relationship to me, actually, now just that everyone's talking about it, is the relationship between Ruben. Is that the character's name? Ruben,
yeah.
Ruben and the guy who runs the deaf school or the deaf
Paul Raci,
getaway.
yeah.
Because that, I don't know, just thinking about it now in retrospect, like I wasn't thinking this at the time watching it, but like perhaps it could be the first time that he ever had like some kind of like father figure in his life. And that like really grounded him. Like that's really moving to me. But then obviously the relationship between him and his girlfriend, like, that final scene in the movie where she's like basically being like, look, I can't do this or whatever. And she's like, but you saved my life. And he says, no, you saved mine. And they're just bawling, sitting there like on the gorgeous bed in France. Like, I just thought the entire thing like was just beautiful.
Yes, absolutely. And that brings you on to the final of the last few, not the final, the first of the last few questions. Jamie, what is your standout scene? What got it the nomination?
See, this is the hardest question of the night because there's like so many standout scenes, and I already had two last time, so I'm going to keep it to one. I'm going to go with the scene when he's sitting on the slide with a kid, and it's the first time he connects with one of the people in the deaf community, and he's just hitting the slide, sorry, and like he can feel the vibrations. I just thought that was a like really touching little moment.
That's good. Nicole, for yourself?
I think when he gets the implants and when you hear what he hears, and that my stomach like sank when I heard what he hears, and they really make it like a horror almost in a way. I really, really effective.
Yeah, that is absolutely fair and terrified. Pat, for yourself?
Yeah, when he has the artificial hearing, like and you kind of understand the gravity of what's actually happening to him and how his life is just never going to be the same again. And he meets his girlfriend's dad. There was something, I can't remember all the scenes because it's so long since I've seen it, but there was something so devastating about how he spoke to him.
It was basically
really nice to him, but it was like, you know, you're on the way. The dad knew more than he did, and it was just kind of.
I think the fact he knew that she had moved past him, and he was being welcoming, and he was also being like, "You get the fuck out."
My heart just sank. Yeah, it was really tough. But
Connor, for yourself.
There's so many choices. I really like the choice. That sounded so sarcastic, but I'm genuinely
it's because you had a pause.
All right, comic timing legend. There was there's a great scene in which he is being sent away to this camp or whatever, and she's going her own way, the girlfriend, and he says something to her like, "Oh, you're gonna have to wait for me." And she like nods and she's like, "Yeah, I will." And he's like, "No, like wait for me." Like, and it kind of brings into question, like, you know, if anything like that were to ever happen to you, it's like that kind of question of like, who would be there for me and who would be wanting to know me as well as they have. So I thought that was heartbreaking.
Yeah. For stand-up performer, look, obviously we're all going to say Riz Ahmed. My stand-up scene, first of all, is the breakup scene, for the fact that they both realized that this journey had come to an end, the two of them, how they both saved each other's lives, and they realized this and they appreciate this, but they just moved past each other and are happy, will be happier without each other. And it was so unsaid and it was so lovely, and it broke every part of me. And for me, that is the standout scene every day of the week. But we're all going to say Riz Ahmed, obviously. We can say what we loved about his performance, but give me another performer as well that would be your standout too. Jamie, you first.
I think his name's Paul
Racy.
Paul Racy, I really, really enjoyed his performance in this film. I thought he was actually a good character in some. I mean, you could argue like he was a bit like mean in the sense that he made him leave, but to be fair, like, I think he was quite like, you can tell he's a very proud man, and I really liked his performance, and his character was interesting as well. He was really good.
Yeah, and
then of course Riz Ahmed is just outstanding. Just a fantastic actor, and it's great to see him getting the recognition finally.
100%. Nicole, over to you.
Yeah, I have to say Paul Racy as well. I loved his character, and I love the fact that he had such strong boundaries, and he had that connection with Ruben that hadn't been an addict himself, and he really got the feeling that this man had to have all of these boundaries, and you know, because of what he had been through, and you kind of felt the whole movie that he was almost like pushing him to like get that breaking point and realization. That's why he's being so tough with him. And that's why he says to him when he goes to leave and he asks him for the money for the RV, he's like, "You sound like an addict right now," because he really cares, but he really just wants him to get his shit together and realize, and he's trying to do the most possible by just being like blunt with him, and I love that.
Yes, absolutely. Pat, for yourself.
Boring, but I'll say Paul Racy as well. I know a lot of recovering addicts, and they just have this. You can tell how hard they've worked to become like well-rounded and wise, and they just kind of have this aura about them that you really respect and you really like. And he perfectly did that. I loved him. And you just know he knows a lot because he's been through so much, and I think he really captured that.
Yeah, I have to agree completely. And he is nominated, of course, for Best Supporting Actor. Connor, for yourself, who, along with Riz Ahmed, you can wax lyrical about his performances too, but along with him, who's your standout performer?
Paul, your man Paul, 100%. He's absolutely fantastic. I did not know he was nominated for Best Supporting Actor, but completely deserved. Thought he was brilliant.
Keep talking for 1 second. I'll just plug him in my phone.
So guys, hello, my name is Conor Burke.
Nearly there.
Someone say something quick.
Liam Should she be nominated? There we are. And I'm back. Great vamping, guys. Great vamping. For me, Olivia Cook isn't getting enough of a shout out, if I'm being honest.
She's great as well. She's brilliant.
She's brilliant.
She's great. I just feel the character wasn't in the movie as much, firstly. And also, she didn't feel like an accessory, I don't think. But like, I don't know. She just was in no way as interesting as the two male protagonists.
I would say as well, I just love that moment when he loses his mind. He's smashing up his kit, and she's telling him to stop, and he can't hear her. And you see in her face, like, this is way out of my depth. Like she has her own problems. And also another moment I loved in a kind of might be too dark, is when they meet for the first time, and this shows straight away that how much she has progressed without him, is that she's like, oh my God, you stopped scratching. They're gone. And I was like, oh, they're going to break up very soon. Do you know what I mean? Like she has grown. She is somewhat recovered. And I love that little moment in it. But Jamie, starting with you, and Leon is in the comments asking, when did you watch Minari?
It's Leo, my man. All right. It's because I left meeting him yesterday to go and watch Minari, and then I didn't even watch it. I watched it today. So.
Hey Leo, subscribe to the channel. Jamie, yes, sorry, it is not this film. Oh, did I get rid? No, I didn't get rid of it. Nominated for Best Picture, Best Actor, Best Supporting Actor, Best Original Screenplay, Best Film Editing, Best Sound. Which one do you think it is most likely to win, aside from possibly Best Picture?
I mean, I wanted to win Best Picture, but I don't think it will. I definitely think this will win Best Sound, because I think the sound is just so well used. It reminded me a bit of A Quiet Place in some ways. I mean, that's not similar film in any way, but like the way it plays.
Because it's both got deaf people in it, Jamie. No. Because it's got deaf people. Someone wants to get cancelled.
I just said that like they both use sound in a very interesting way. Yeah. That's all I meant. And not similar, obviously.
Good save, bro. Nicole,
I want to speak.
What do you think it'll win aside from Best Picture?
I agree. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture. I'm really glad that it's nominated, though. It makes me feel good about the world. I would want Riz Ahmed to win Best Actor, but I don't think he is going to win. Maybe Paul Raci will win for Best Supporting Actor, and I hope he does. I think this is a shoo-in for sound design, and I think that might be the only thing that they win. Maybe.
Yeah. Pat, for yourself?
Yeah, Best Actor and Best Sound, I think, are the two. I don't think it's going to win Best Picture either. From what I've seen, I would like it to win Best Picture. I still haven't seen the other four, but he deserves to win Best Actor from what I've seen. I'd love if he did.
Wait till you see the two of the films you haven't seen for next week yet. You might change your mind.
One of them, is that what you're talking about? The Father?
Yes, maybe, possibly.
No, sorry. Riz still deserves the Oscar over The Father. I've seen.
Oh, yeah. Okay. Is that what you're going to say about it? Aside from Best Picture, what are you saying?
Best Sound Design. It could get Best Sound Design. Best Actor, I would love for him to get Best Actor. I've seen 6 out of 8 of the movies so far.
Yeah.
And I just think he's unbelievable in this. If there's any good in the world, he should win. Although I haven't seen 2 of them, so
okay. If there's any good in the world, not to cure coronavirus, but to give Riz Ahmed an Oscar. Yeah, God, if you're watching and if you're up there.
Yeah.
And finally, I think I know what the answer is, but across the board, does it deserve to be nominated for Best Picture?
Yes.
Jamie?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Very much. Perfect. Guys, thanks so much. We're moving on to our final film of this 4. You've been absolutely tremendous, everyone so far. And wherever you're watching, please keep your comments coming in, keep your thoughts coming in, like the video, share the video, subscribe to the channel. Always hugely appreciated. Next film, the final film, is maybe one of the more controversial ones. It has been one of the most interesting ones that a lot of people have had a lot of comments about. So that's why I left it a little final film to discuss. But it is, of course, Promising Young Woman. Promising Young Woman, nominated for Best Picture, Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, Best Actress, and Best Film Editing. Best Director and Original Screenplay, both Emerald Fennell and Carey Mulligan, of course, for Best Actress. And, of course, the supporting cast of... what's her name from that was in Friends and Legally Blonde and American Pie, and then what's your man that's in Shawshank Redemption? Jennifer Coolidge, and then your man that's in Shawshank Redemption, and Kurgan in The Highlander, and voicing someone in SpongeBob SquarePants, and always a bad guy. And it was nice seeing him being lovely in this film. And then, of course, if I didn't say Bo Burnham, and loads of very interesting supporting cast as well. So, Jamie, we'll go to you first. Of those who I've mentioned, which name kind of jumps out first to you that you knew prior? What do you know about them, and your thoughts in general about the film?
Well, obviously, Carey Mulligan is a very great actor. Like, I know, so she was the main person who, but I actually had the chance to see this film almost a year before lockdown, like before COVID was like a big thing, because it was at the Glasgow Film Festival. It was like this secret film, and I couldn't get tickets for it or something. I had something else on. So I've been waiting like a year to watch this. And I am very interested to hear what people think, because I have no idea what I think of this film. I'm not just saying that, like, I've been saying this for the last week since I watched it. Like, I don't know if I like it. I don't know if I don't like. I just have no idea. I think it has good things in it. It's got some things I'm like, is that what? So I honestly really struggling to articulate what I think about this film. So please, everyone else, I'm fascinated to hear what you have to say.
Oh, yes, that's what I want. And Nicole, we spoke very, very briefly until I said we're not talking about it till the show, but you are not the biggest fan of this film, if I'm correct. But while you get into that, tell us which name that I mentioned before kind of jumps out to you, and what you knew them from before and what you'd seen them in.
I mean, I think Carey Mulligan, I will say, I think she does a great job in this movie. I think it's probably her best performance. And I love Bo Burnham. Bo Burnham is my man. It's always a joy to see him in things. And I love Alison Brie as well. Those would be the three kind of standouts for me. I'm a huge Mad Men fanatic, so I recognize the guy that plays the main rapist in this, I always like to see him in things as well. He's got a terrifying, cheery nature about him, which is good. And so oh God, well, how do I even begin to talk about this? I do want to say I don't hate women. I am a feminist. I believe sexual assault is a terrible
this is going to be great.
But I didn't enjoy this film, and I was actually really relieved, Jamie, when you were like, you don't know what to make of it, because the more I think about this film, the more I don't know how to make of it, and the more I go from hating it to being really not sure. I do think it's an enjoyable movie. I think it works as, like, not even a fun comedy, kind of like a black comedy in a sense. I think it's a decent watch, and I'm glad that I saw it. But I think it's a terribly confused movie. I think the film is marketed totally wrong. It kind of sells as a kooky revenge movie, kind of like a hard candy, that sort of thing. It's Kill Bill for the Me Too movement era. And so I did a little bit of research about this, because I was kind of confused why I was so confused. And so this is a revenge movie that is made by a director who is actually uncomfortable with revenge. So I looked up comments from Emerald Fennell, the director, and I believe she wrote it as well.
Yes, she wrote it.
She's uncomfortable. She said she's uncomfortable with anger, and that she thinks that revenge and vengeance aren't good things. So then why do we have a movie that was marketed to us as like, oh, this is so good, it's women getting back at the people that sexual assault and all this kind of stuff. And I think that's the problem here. The director herself is uncomfortable with revenge. So, like, we've all seen the film, and I think the big surprise is the fact that she's not hurting these men. She's being taken home by these men that are going to sexually assault her by pretending to be drunk. And she then snaps awake and lectures them and leaves. And that's the extent of how bad things really get. Which is fine. It's totally fine if you want to, make it something that's kind of real. Emerald Fennell herself said that she wanted to make a movie that portrayed how a woman would actually seek revenge, which is fine. But again, I think it was marketed in a totally wrong way. Where I take issue is that when it comes to, and I'm sorry I'm going on for so long, but I do have a lot.
No, go for it.
What I do take issue is that she actually, I would argue, causes more hurt to the women that were part of this assault case than the men, than any of the men in the story. So like she goes to Alison Brie and makes her believe that she was sexually assaulted, and she goes to the dean of the college, who throughout the case didn't believe her friend when she was sexually assaulted, and makes her believe that her daughter is being sexually assaulted. And she inflicts this trauma that is the whole thesis of the movie, that isn't this trauma such a terrible thing? Isn't it a horrific thing that will force you to do, you know, this kind of revenge thing? It fucks up your life, all this kind of stuff. But I'm going to give these people trauma, and we're just going to kind of ignore it, just blame it on, oh, I'm a flawed, dark character. And I think it causes a rift in the movie where you really don't know what to make of her, but not in a fun way, not in a way with like, you know, like Lisbeth Salander, where she, you know, tattoos her rapist's chest and that kind of stuff. And she like, you know, kills people and that kind of thing. And you think, oh, well, that's, you know, a bad thing. But with this character, it's not even fun. And in the end, when she's killed, it's just the weirdest message. And I don't know. I think, forget the fact that she's killed at the end. I think the fact that the film gets kind of stupid and makes us feel like, and kind of treats us as we're kind of stupid as well, is what really is the problem. The whole thing with the fact that they burn her body with a fire camp. They can't fire. You can't do that. The whole thing with the text. How come she was bringing home all of these men, you know, every week, was able to leave these sexual assaulters' apartments, no problem, but she knew going into this bachelor party that she was going to get murdered, so she was going to set up these texts in time. She knew she was going to get murdered. It takes a lot of leaps and it gets really stupid. And I think, I don't know, for a film with such a great message, I think we deserve a film that doesn't, like, I think the message isn't enough. I'm so glad that there's a movie about you know, why it is bad. Really, the clear message in this film is, don't take women home that are too drunk, you know, to hold their head up, do not have sex with them. But I think that isn't enough for it to be nominated for Best Picture. Just because the message is good doesn't make it necessarily a good movie. And I'll stop talking there.
No, that was
amazing.
That was absolutely fantastic. Jesus Christ.
Thank you.
No, to kind of touch on some of the points you were saying there, Nicole, I do agree with you with a lot of them. First of all, like, I was very disappointed that she wasn't a murderer. I thought that was a huge letdown, and not because, like, if they're equal or whatever like that. I think that the way her character was built up, it's that she isn't looking for equal. She isn't looking for them to feel the same amount of pain as she did or whatever. She's looking for more. She's looking for, like, what if she's not looking for revenge? What is she not looking for? Like, what is she looking for? And revenge isn't the same thing. It is doing what you did to me plus the time I've had to deal with it, to live with it. So that's why I felt like killing is grand. Do you know what I mean? And like, of course, the film, I thought it was going to go that way. I was completely on board. And then when it wasn't, I was like, same thing with you. I was like, there's a million and one ways why this could have turned out a lot worse. Like, she's not a martial artist. Like, if a guy hit her, you know, she's got to go down. Like, she isn't a superhero. But if she kills them, because that's why I thought she's a doctor, she's everything. She knows how to do these things. I thought she was going to be a murderer. So I felt that was a bit of a letdown. So I completely agree with you on that. I do think this film will inspire a ton of copycats, more so than any other film will here. I think it'll, which is a good thing. It shows the thing of a good film, or at least a genre-bending, career-defining film. I do agree with you that it's hyped up a little bit more than it should be, and there is a lot of holes in it. But I also feel like what I've learned from the amount of films I have watched is that sometimes films aren't supposed to make sense or supposed to be a message. Well, they say it's not a message, but it's supposed to be like, well, that's not a word I can say, the message. Like, but if the message is literally like, there's no downfall, and unfortunately for everything we perceived she did and what we know she did, she didn't get any comeuppance other than dying, which I feel she was fine with. You know, so I don't think there was enough. There was no justification there was no cause for anything. If that makes sense. Pat, I rambled, so to take the pressure off you following Nicole's.
Thank you.
You're welcome, bro. Anytime. So what are your thoughts? Cast you knew beforehand, and thoughts on the film in general?
Well, first of all, I really enjoyed Nicole's. I was like enthralled. That was great. I too am kind of relieved by the previous opinions, because I just left I did have fun watching it. Like, it was an entertaining couple of hours, and afterwards I knew I didn't like it, but I was almost scared to say I didn't like it, because I feel like saying you don't like this movie is saying you disagree with the Me Too movement and that kind of thing, which I don't at all. But I just, like you said, it requires too many leaps of faith and there's too many holes, and I just left it I don't even really remember it all that well. I watched this a long time ago as well, but I remember how I felt afterwards, and everyone I've spoken to loves it. And I'm kind of wondering, are they saying they love it because of the message, because of like the place it's coming from? Is that why they love it, or do they actually love the movie? Because I didn't love the movie at all. I think it might be my least favorite one of the four.
Interesting.
Actually, but yeah, that's my.
That's
thought.
absolutely fair. Conor, over to you. Same questions across the board. Where did you know the actors or behind the scenes from before, and your thoughts on the film itself?
I think some of the best films are films that make people engage in a dialogue like this.
Yes.
And it's clear to see that the Oscars, Academy Awards, like, this is a hot button topic this year. But like, if you look at every movie we've discussed so far, it's like Mank is the classic Hollywood drama with like an acting legend and Gary Oldman in the role. Then we've got This is the topical movie. Then we've got the Minari show, the Minari movie, which is more kind of like an indie, like A24 family drama. Like all of these films fit into their own slots. So it kind of brings up the question, like, I'm not trying to sound mean, like, was Promising Young Woman only nominated because it was the topical one? Not saying that it was, but I also have written down here in my notes, how would this movie have been different prior to the Me Too movement and the atrocities that Harvey Weinstein committed came to light? If presuming that it would have even have gotten made, how would this movie have been different? Also, one other thing that I noticed, last thing I noticed, which is kind of random, I really liked how they decided to cast all of the men in this movie as like men from like well-known sitcoms, TV shows, or movies. Because it kind of, I don't know if you guys noticed it, but it was kind of like oh, look, this man that you like on New Girl. Like, that's kind of like what they were saying, do you know what I mean? Is doing these shitty things or whatever. So I definitely thought there was some really like intelligent decisions. I loved the cinematography in it. I thought it looked stunning. I thought Carey Mulligan was unbelievable. It is a film, though, that this could literally go on for hours and we could talk around in circles about it. There's so much to dissect. I feel like out of more than the other three movies, if you were to look at this one again, you could get something out of it, because it's about something today and modern and contemporary. So there's a lot to unpack there. Like, you could literally have like a 3-hour podcast about this film as a standalone. Sure,
look, we'll do 8 till 8. Promising Young Woman for the next 24 hours. Jamie, from what you have heard from this is my question across the board for this one is going to be: is she the good guy? Is she the bad guy? Or is she some sort of murky middle ground? And in answering that, is it the right decision to make her that way? Is going to be the second question for that. For Jamie, on that, but from also on that question, from listening to other people, what has that made you think about your viewing experience, since you were really looking forward to hearing what they said?
Yeah, well, Nicole's analysis was really good and like interesting to hear as well. I didn't even think about the thing about the trauma that she mentioned. I thought that was so true. Yeah, I think Pat said it as well. It's like one of those ones where you're almost scared to like criticize a film like this, because it is different. You can like the message of something and think it's done flawed. You know what I mean? And I think something as a society we're not maybe good at doing is like people want to have a black or white answer to something, whereas usually they're very complex. And I think that is this case with this film. It is quite a complex film because there's really good things in it and there's really flawed things in it. And I just think what Nicole said as well about the market and being really confused, because I've been waiting a year to see it and had a very, very certain idea what it was going to be, and it wasn't that, and so that was also quite confusing. So I think it's a confused film. I think it's actually quite a confused film. So I don't actually know if the film knows what it wants to be. Sometimes I think it's perhaps So. And the thing, did you say about her character, if she's good or bad? Is that what the question was?
Yes, that's the second.
Well,
question.
I think no one's really good. I think we're all complex. I don't think there's such a thing as good. I think the best films and characters are nuanced, and I think her character is nuanced. But she's clearly a victim, and she's clearly in pain. And I thought there was good things at the way they dealt with that. I thought like she clearly. I think a lot of what I've been reading was people were suggesting she was like a shell, so she was already dead. She'd already lost her life, and she didn't have anything to lose because of everything she'd went through. So I think in that regard, like that's probably true. But I don't know. I just was sad. Like I was just like, oh, she's died. Like I don't know. But it was great to hear other people like talk about the film. I agree with what the rest of the panel have been saying.
Ah, perfect. And now we're back. Everyone, put your feet up, lean back in your seats, get comfortable. Go take a bathroom break if you need to as well. Just bring headphones. Nicole, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is it somewhere in the middle? And when I said, is this the problem with the film? Are you happy with that decision? Is kind of more direct than what you were saying, because, well, I'll let you answer that first, and then we can go more in depth on it if we need to.
Okay. I think I'm going to say about what Jamie said as well, where she's a nuanced character, and I understand that, but I feel like in bringing in the message of her being a victim, there's a certain expectation for her to be perfect, or maybe we might overlook maybe some of the things that she's doing, or I don't even know, but God, it is a tricky one. I would lean more towards her being maybe bad just because she fucked around with the feelings of the other two women in the story. That's not good. But I think this is the most open conversation I've seen about this movie. Like, it's happening right now, and people are
yeah.
Not enough people are watching.
Yeah, no, definitely not enough people are watching. No. Sorry. Do you have more to say, or do you want
to?
Yes, you do.
I think it would have been more interesting if it had been Cassie who was the one that was assaulted, and this was firsthand Cassie's experience. And I'm not saying, and I get what Emerald Fennell is getting at, that it can be traumatizing when something like that happens to other people. It doesn't just affect the direct victim. But I feel like we could have explored more of what that sexual assault actually, does to a person more in a more direct way. Whereas, there's certain times in the movie and you feel bad about it where you're just like, well, this happened to your friend. I get it, but it doesn't feel like that close of a connection for her to have gone so off the rails, which she obviously does. And there's just that kind of conflict where you're kind of missing out on her kind of inner dialogue because it's not her story of what's going on in her head. And they're kind of cautious about it because she's not the one that was assaulted, but she's the one that's doing the revenge. I don't know. I'll say it again. It's been said before. It's a very confused movie. And I do think it's good that this movie came out, and I still enjoyed it. And I think there's certain good things about it, and I'm glad it exists. It's just a really interesting question to ask whether it's worth, whether it deserves being Best Picture,
I would say the reason I actually like that they made her not the victim, but the friend of the victim, because it put different eyes on it. Because now we're not looking at someone we have to empathize with, because Like I don't know numbers, I don't know anything, but like I would like to think the majority of people that are watching these haven't been sexually assaulted, you know. So like when you are looking through the eyes of someone who is looking for revenge for someone else, you can empathize with that person more, and it's easy to get in, and you're looking at the lengths where they go to get there. So for me, I actually like that aspect of the story, for the fact it was that, because it was different. I hadn't seen that done before. I do agree. Like I was saying before, it's a confused film. I did find it annoying that I think she's too good of a person. I think she has a moral compass, which annoys me. What I do love is the relationship with Bo Burnham, which I'm going to get into with you now, Pat, because he also plays music. Do you know Bo Burnham?
No, I don't.
Anyway, Pat, thanks for taking part. I thought what really, really struck me, okay, because I think when you're watching, especially films like this, you tend to kind of see yourself in the eyes of like your person in there, like the guy or the girl or whatever. But like Bo Burnham, I was like, oh, this guy is like me. He's offbeat. He's charming. He's really dark sense of humor. I was like, I like this Bo Burnham. He's a good guy. And then obviously when the twist happened, you could say twist. Some people said it was nailed on. It was going to happen. I was devastated because I was sucked in with stuff like that. That could be me. Do you know what I mean? And especially because he didn't do it, but he didn't do anything about it when it happened. Obviously, he was there, and you're like, oh, this is fucking awful. And then you have that second where she's looking at him, she wants him to just show empathy, to show remorse, you know, but he doesn't. And you're like, that's heartbreaking. That's heartbreaking. But what were your thoughts on his performance in the Pat? Because I was not expecting. I never saw him as an actor before.
Yeah, I thought he was great, and that devastated me too. He was like kind of the only redeemable male character, and it made you feel like, wow, this. You need to be more aware about things like this, because as innocent as you think you are, you can easily overlook things like that. And he, you know, I just thought it was a devastating thing to see. He was the redeemable guy, and then all of a sudden it's like, wow, we all need to kind of be better. I don't know. I think if I compare this to Sound of Metal, where after Sound of Metal I was enlightened about a subject. Like it did that for me. It opened my eyes to this thing I hadn't really considered. And also it was a flawless piece of art where like I just enjoyed the movie. Whereas this, it was a great message. And that kind of got through to me. But on the art side of things, I was just a little bit confused. And I think she is a good character in the sense that her intentions and what she's fighting against and trying to achieve comes from a good place. And then obviously it's complicated because some of the things she does are questionable.
But like it's also understandable. But it's that thing of like, I think she had to pick a lane. I think she had to make her, because okay, the thing is, we're hooked in. We know why she's doing it, and we're supporting why she's doing it. So I think the fact that she doesn't go the extra mile, that the fact that she doesn't kill the guys, she doesn't do this, I feel like a little bit let down because I think they're making her too good of a person, you know, considering everything she's doing. But the fact is, if she kills them, we're going to be like, yeah, you go, girl. Do you know what I mean? Look what they did, and you take them out one by one, whatever way you have to do it. So I felt I was a little bit let down by that. But for you, Connor, on that, is she a good guy? Is she a bad guy? Is she somewhere in the middle? And what did you think of? We covered Bo Burnham, but the other characters that she was supporting opposite and how they were portrayed.
I think that she's just a person. Like if I knew her in real life, I would think she was probably horrendous. But like in the scope of watching this, like you have to take it back to the basics here, right? Like a bad thing happened to her friend, and she's out to get vengeance for it. That's essentially it. And like I know Nicole was talking earlier about like, oh, she goes after the women, but the way I read it is that like, she didn't have, as far as I remember, she didn't have contact with the men who did this to her, or like she only recently came in contact with some of the men or was at least planning to go to these men. So the way I think she processed her rage was like, right, I need to see anyone who was even remotely fucking involved in this, and the way I'm going to process my rage is by taking it out on them, because if I don't take it out on someone, like I'm completely going to crack up. And it's why she goes to the bars and starts doing these random things to trying to, see how men will react around her. She is trying to get some kind of reaction, and she wants someone to blame ASAP because the men who did this to her friend aren't immediately accessible to her. She needs to have someone to blame. So whether it's the woman who works at the college, her old friend, the lawyer played by Alfred Molina, she needs to do something. And it's very interesting because a lot of the time she doesn't actually do the thing that she sets out to do. Like you think that someone's going to beat Alfred Molina's character up, the guy that she pays, and she pays him, but he doesn't do it. So it's like she goes right to the cusp and she makes other people think that something bad is going to happen to them. But then she's like, no, I was just joking. It's like when she kidnapped the girl and she brought her to the diner, but she told her mother that she was in a hotel room with all these guys. Like she didn't actually do it. She just wanted other people to feel the fear that she's felt. So it's so complex. Like it is so complex, and there's so many different ways that you can go with it. In terms of Bo Burnham, he was great in the movie, but he was just Bo Burnham, wasn't he? Like he was just Bo Burnham. Like there was no acting required.
I love saying that name, Bo
him.
Burnham. That's absolutely fair. I think though with Alfred Molina that she was, because he showed remorse, like actual remorse, the only person in it that really did. That's why she stopped anything from happening to him. That's my thoughts anyway. But we will go to standout scene now. Jamie, for yourself, what moment do you feel got this film a nomination? A nomination?
Well, I don't know if this scene got a nomination, but I think you talked about it a minute ago. But like the scene that hit me the most was definitely when like Bo Burnham did, like when she confronts him and then he doesn't. You want him to just show a bit of empathy. You're like, come on, man, just acknowledge like. And then he just like sort of gets angry. That like hurt. It didn't hurt me, but like, do you know what I mean? I was like, oh god. Like, because I think what you were saying, like you kind of think I could be him, I could be that guy, I can relate to like a bit. And then when that happens, it really makes you think, and I really like how that makes you think. I think a few people have already said, but like when you think, sort of like maybe we all have a responsibility, and like you sort of just makes you question things. So I thought that actually was really effective bit of cinema, and it really got across the message of the film. Yeah,
that's perfect. Nicole, for yourself.
I was going to say the nice, lighthearted scene of Cassie and Ryan dancing in the store. I thought that was nice. But I will say, no, I'll change it to, even though I have issue, I don't really know what to think of the fact that she's killed at the end, but I do appreciate the guts they had when when your man is smothering her. It feels like it's for 5 minutes, because it's such a movie trope. You see it in like One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest and all these sorts of films where people are smothered and a pillow is just on their head for like 10 seconds. Oh, they're dead. They drag that out and it's horrifying.
Yeah, that's a good shout, seeing a woman getting smothered. Pat, for yourself, what would be your standout scene?
Yeah, I think the scene where she confronts Bo Burnham had the most lasting effect on me and caused me to be more introspective, and it made me think the most. And because it's so long since I've seen it, that's the part that has stuck with me. So I suppose that's my favorite.
Yeah, I'd be the same as that. Connor, for yourself?
I just loved all the blackmail scenes, guys. I'm not being funny. I just thought they were brilliantly written. I thought Carey Mulligan was absolutely fantastic in a lot of the stuff. Like, we've talked so much about this movie already and about, is she good, is she bad? Imagine how exciting it was for her as an actor to get that script and be like, lads, where I can do a million different things with this. Where do I start? I thought she was unbelievable, particularly the scene where she goes to see the dean of the college or whatever she was, the lecturer at the college. And I just thought that was brilliant. Fantastic.
Yeah. Absolutely. My standout scene is one I mentioned earlier, is when she confronts Bo Burnham and also her reaction to seeing when we obviously we don't see the tape, but we hear his voice, and that we all got that reaction of, oh no, and her reaction to that, and that just moment where she's like, please just show remorse. Please do, and he just doesn't do it. So we move on to standout performer. Obviously, I think everyone's going to say Carey Mulligan. So if you want to say what you love about Carey Mulligan's performance, or what you might like as well, but along with that, who else stands out for you? Jamie, you first.
Yeah, well, I think I enjoyed Bo Burnham in the film. I thought he was obviously very good. Like in that scene where they like dancing that Nicole mentioned as well, was a great scene, and I think that scene makes it even more heartbreaking when like the sort of what happens. But yeah, obviously Carey Mulligan is just a very good performance from her. It's interesting to see her like sort of do like, because I feel like she has like almost plays two characters in a way, because she has like the normal life, and then she has like that sort of life she has when she goes out and like takes the guys home and sort of lectures them and stuff. So no, it was just a really interesting, complex performance from Carey Mulligan. I really enjoyed it, her in it.
Yeah, absolutely. Nicole, on to you. And also I have a question that I meant to say earlier on. Do you wish it went down the route of her being like, I don't say cured, whatever you want to say, by being with the character that Bo Burnham plays? I was saying his name so much. Or were you kind of, with the track that went, were you kind of like, that's okay? Even though you weren't the biggest fan of the film, would you rather it went that way, or the kind of more like, we found each other, I can be healed by you route?
Well, this is the thing about films that are marketed as like, you know, it has a big message, because it gets those kind of ideas into my head, because as soon as you said that, I was like, well, then if she just stayed with Bo Burnham, the idea would be she, you know, a man cured her of her trauma. You know what I mean? No, I'm glad that she ultimately it went down that route, even though I think that the film kind of derails at that point in terms of logic. And I will say too that I am so glad that this film exists, even though I've, you know, caused a lot of stuff in this. I just keep thinking about it in all these different ways it can be interpreted, and it's just it's a Marmite film, and I love that. I love the discussions that come from it, and I'm glad it exists. Carey Mulligan's performance is great. I love Bo Burnham. I think I agree with Conor. He is just playing Bo Burnham, but I love watching him.
Yeah.
I am annoyed. I'll take a moment to complain one more time that they don't use Laverne Cox's character as much as they should have. They didn't utilize Laverne Cox. It's Laverne bloody Cox. You know what I mean? She's just
Google's Laverne Cox,
the manager in the coffee shop, like this perfect angel, you know, and doesn't really have a personality. But yeah, I don't know. Carey Mulligan, great.
That's fair. That's more than fair. Pat, on to you.
Yeah, I think Carey Mulligan is the only answer, really. She was the only like standout great performance. Everyone was fine, but like doesn't feel like anyone else is even potentially going to win an Oscar. Is anyone else nominated for an Oscar?
No, just her. Just her.
Yeah, I mean, she's the centerpiece here.
I was wondering where you're going to go there.
So was
I. Conor Burke, for yourself, stand-up performer. It can be Carey Mulligan and someone else.
Carey Mulligan, absolutely unreal. I really, really enjoyed seeing Jennifer Coolidge in this film. I feel like everyone knows Jennifer Coolidge, like Legally Blonde, like that Cinderella movie with Hilary Duff, like all these kind of crazy. It was just nice to see her reel back in. Was really impressed by her. Alison Brie, I thought was really good. I love that scene when they're at the restaurant. Bo Burnham was great. Like I love Bo Burnham, but like he literally just was not acting. Like that is literally him. I will die on this hill.
Absolutely fair. Absolutely fair. So yeah, Promising Young Woman nominated for Best Picture, obviously Best Director, Original Screenplay, Actress, and Film Editing. Out of those, which one do you think is most likely for it to win? Besides Best Picture.
I'd say Carey Mulligan is in with a shout of winning Best Actress. Also, this I think won the BAFTA for was it Best Original Screenplay? It won the BAFTA for, so it could be in with a shout of winning. I don't think it should, but it could well be in with a shout of winning that.
Absolutely, Nicole, to you.
Yeah, I totally agree. I think Best Actress, Carey Mulligan, and I really it should not win Best Screenplay. Just putting that out there. I think Best Actress.
Absolutely fair. Pat, over to you.
Yeah, Best Actress. And as Conor was saying earlier, I feel like this is the social movie, and like I think if you compare it to any of the nominations from last year's Oscar, it never would have had a chance. I don't think this doesn't feel like an Oscar-winning movie to me. It's just there. It's filling that social movie role, and that's kind of.
Yeah, absolutely fair. Connor, for yourself.
Carey Mulligan, absolutely loved her in this. I do think that there could be a surprise with screenplay. I really do think. I understand people's problems with this film because I've got a lot of problems with it, and I understand why people have issues with it. But I think most of those problems stem from the subject matter rather than the way the movie is constructed. Like, obviously, people have a problem with the way it's constructed in regards to a topic as serious as this. But I think we could be in for a surprise with the original screenplay.
Okay, very interesting. I would say, for me, I think the only thing it could win aside from this is Best Actress, but I don't think it will. I do not think it will. And final question: does it deserve to be nominated? Jamie, you first.
Can I actually quickly say I take back what I said about Mank? Absolutely deserves to be nominated. I was being a dick, so there you go. So I mean, yeah, it probably does. Maybe it's good that it's a good film to have. It's raised a lot of important discussion, I think. So like, I think it's good to have it in the conversation. It's nice to see the Oscars at least sort of doing something a bit different. So it deserves to be nominated.
Cool. Nicole, for yourself.
I think regardless, A Promising Young Woman exists in the zeitgeist. It doesn't need to be nominated for Best Picture for it to exist and it to be an important film. I think the message is really important. I just don't think it's enough to carry it into great picture status. And I think something like that, it's a little bit condescending. So I would rather, I'm glad that this movie exists, but I don't think it's a great film. And I would say, if you compare it to other films about female revenge, like Kill Bill, Girl with a Dragon Tattoo, Hard Candy, even ones where they're kind of bad, like Gone Girl or Fatal Attraction and all this kind of stuff, these are brilliant films about female revenge. Some of them about sexual assault, they exist out there, and I'm glad this movie exists about the specific topic of taking advantage of a woman when she's drunk. I'm just saying that there's movies like this out there that exist that are great, and I look forward to seeing more in the caliber of Kill Bill and all that kind of stuff. End scene. Thank you.
Beautiful,
wow.
beautiful.
Point well made.
Yeah. Pat, for yourself, did it deserve to be nominated?
I think it's the least deserving for sure. I too am glad it exists, even purely for that one moment where the good guy turned out to have done this horrific thing, and I mean that made me think. And I'm glad it exists, and I'm glad we're having these conversations. It doesn't seem like an Oscar-winning movie at all to me. So
okay,
I'm gonna say no, actually.
Oh, what a twist! And Connor, to see us out, did this film deserve to be nominated?
Dramatic pause. Drum roll.
I think. Oh, sorry. Yeah, dramatic pause. Literally. I think it does deserve to be nominated. I think this is, without a doubt, the most divisive film we've talked about here, which to me are the most interesting movies to always talk about. Like, this is the kind of movie when you leave the cinema, you're talking to your friends like the whole way home. Like, what did you make of that? Like, am I wrong for thinking these things? Am I also wrong in saying that the writer-director, this is her first feature film?
Feature film.
Isn't she Camilla in The Crown?
Yes.
Oh, wow, really? I didn't know that.
Yeah, the writer and director of this movie plays Camilla in The Crown. And she's fantastic in that. I would say absolutely. I get people's problems with it. I think that once it's a movie about females like having revenge, it's automatically topical. And I'd love to know how much of that is society like projecting ourselves onto that. So I'd say it does deserve to be nominated. I think Carey Mulligan is unbelievable, and I'm really excited to see whatever her name is comes out with in a couple of years, because I think it was a very interesting first project, at least.
Okay, that's a perfect thing to see us out on, guys. It's been just about 2.5 hours. It's been an absolute pleasure with these tremendous people. We will be back next Monday at the same time, 7:00 with the final 4 films. And then we will, with the people I have on there, which I think with most people here, but we'll find that out anyway. What we believe will actually win Best Picture. So I've everything coming out. I've Best Actor has been released today with Dan Monahan. You checked it out. I've Best Actress with Kat Maloney, we released last week. I checked it out with Gary Duggan on for Best Adapted Screenplay. Check that out. Coming out this week as well. I'll have Savannah Smith on with Best Supporting Actress. Next week will be Lee Coffey with Best Original Screenplay. I have Kevin Michael Reid with Best Director. And then Best Animated with Jasmine Gleeson. Best Foreign Film with Adam Tyrrell. And Best Documentary with Tamar Keane. Jesus Christ. And then we're back to regular programming once the Oscar finishes. So please join us for that. Also, I have a short film coming out the 26th of April called Toxic. So please tune in and check that out. It'll be live on my YouTube channel. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. Find us on Instagram. Find us on Twitter. Find the guys here on their social medias as well. I'll put in the show notes, show links. Because I want to get off because I need to go to bed. I'm probably going to edit this very soon too. So guys, thanks so much. Wherever you're watching this, have a great day, great evening, and look forward to seeing you next week.
Bye.
We can all say bye.
Bye.
Bye.